9320032.
932 0032.
Well.
The next method of recording.
How do you like that? They're busy.
What are you doing?
Trying to find a place to eat for us. Would you like Chinese, Rob, instead?
Chinese is fine. That's what Reuben wants. But we ate late, so let's not do it too soon.
Okay. Hey, Jackie.
Yes, of course, yes, you can do that.
Yeah.
Excuse me, that was bad.
That's now
What's the name
recorded
of the
for
Chinese restaurant down
for
here?
eternity.
It's for eternity?
Yeah.
They will see my tongue for eternity?
Yes.
Oh my God. So what did you say, Mark?
Reuben votes for Chinese.
Chinese, so you want to go to the Chinese place down to
Yeah, and the pewter mug phone is busy.
Okay.
Let's see, 932.
How many hours of...
33.
Hey Ben, did you see this picture I made the photo?
Restaurants. Let's see, Yunnan on Coventry,
Yeah.
3710777.
Let me see that. Wait, they're ringing at pewter mug.
Okay, but Ruby,
Reuben wants wanted
room for us in half an hour? 7.
the farm. Oops. The farm. Reuben shooting the gun near the pond.
I wrote it. I wonder if he put the letter on.
I don't know. Oh, he still had your nail back. You could just sit on the porch. Thank you. It's so peaceful here. It's a shame to go to Mudville and Conneautville Park, you know?
Yeah.
You know, we never just sit around and enjoy the peacefulness. We're just running to town.
You know, when we're missed here, I should have a couple hammocks.
Hammocks.
Yeah.
Well, I like to be sitting up in case a bee comes, you know, and then I can run.
Yes, you know what happened to the hammock I had?
What happened?
Well, Jackie's sister was sitting in it and it broke through. She landed on her ass. She can't forgive herself.
What?
She can't forgive herself.
You feel so bad, huh?
I could just hear Robbie saying, hey, it was just last summer. And I took his picture of him.
Well, Dad, what do you have to say?
Hey, how come you didn't admit that I'm a womanizer?
I didn't want to give you the satisfaction.
You know, I'm proud of that.
How does it feel to be 75 years old?
I'm only 74, Rob. You know the way I count.
How do you count?
I told you the first year doesn't count.
Well, how does it feel to be 74?
Well, it feels awful.
Why?
Because I'm on the way out.
Uh-huh.
I'm rotten inside.
Uh-huh. What does that mean?
Now, you saw my yellow cardigan on the kitchen, on the dining room table.
Doesn't mean anything to me.
Who's in a red car? Who's coming to your house in a red car? Hey, I think your guest is a red. Is that a Harold or something?
Maybe. Let me get up and find out.
It looks like Red and Hero.
Are they fat?
It is.
Are they
Hi.
Yeah, they're fat.
Go greet him with the camcorder.
It's real.
Hey,
They're
you're
real
here
fat.
already. Not yet. Brought corn?
Somebody has a camera. A toy. Don't take so much of me, please.
That's okay. I have on my wide-angle lens.
No, come on. Hello.
I wrote her a happy birthday.
Thank you.
Hey. Harold. And here he is. After spending 10 years in the pen for crack peddling.
Who gave us this? Jackie gave you. She got us from Peggy.
Why are you taking so many pictures?
Stop it, he's not
making
taking
a
pictures.
tape for it.
Well, boy, that's enough of us.
He's photogenic.
This is my father's 75th birthday tape. I wanted to make sure we got everything recorded.
Yeah, half a shalom.
That's enough.
Do you own that machine?
No, I rented it.
That's good.
It costs a lot of money.
Hey, Reuben.
Coming back from the hunt. It's tough out there. Deer, it's too fast for me. That's all I can say right about now.
How was the hunt?
Terrible. The deer, just like the wind out there. Run right past you.
And you missed.
Yep. And you miss.
How's life, Reuben?
So far, it's pretty good.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'll give you a hug in a minute.
Okay. I'll put the gun here in case I'm going to use it later.
Get another beer.
Hey,
Who's having a beer?
Ray, sit down.
Huh?
Sit down.
My brother needs some.
I better not even put my hat at my table. I don't think I'm Jewish.
There's a chance to get your picture taken.
Me too.
Hey. Sure, take a picture of me eating.
Think I could eat it with my teeth?
There's nothing more disgusting than watching fat people eat.
Don't take pictures of us eating.
This is, this is
Oh,
real.
this is a television camera.
Yeah,
Real
this is
film.
a
I didn't
VCR.
realize it. So I saw all that machinery, and then I realized.
And then I want a coffee.
what it must have been.
Everyone's going to want a coffee.
Yeah, I'll pay for it.
You certainly will.
Not us.
I mean,
we
there's
don't have
coffee.
We had a
Well, I
guy,
have a VCR, I gotta have it.
we had a guy at our reunion.
We had that last year.
Oh, that
Yeah.
tomato, the first real tomato I've eaten in 3 years.
I know, isn't it wonderful?
We had so much fun
No, was that
at our
good?
anniversary, and Faye's roommate borrowed one and took it, and we put
Better
it
not
right in the
waste
VCR.
too much of
It was
that,
so
Rob.
much
That was
fun.
fun. I know. We did
I
that.
got
last
hours.
year.
That's enough,
Oh,
Paul.
dear.
That's enough of us, jeez.
That's
I
enough.
just
Hey,
want
they're
to
starting to get
interrupt.
mannerly.
Stop it.
They're starting to get mannerly here.
Hey, I would share it with Harold. I'm just in the mood. You come to a farm, you want beer. Why?
Nothing, I'm looking. This is gonna be exciting.
This is very,
to see
very
Maggie.
embarrassing.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go around there and I'm gonna lick that lens.
Say something for Fred, he got his beard checked.
Oh, he's not coming.
Nah,
He's gone.
yeah.
You got his beard shaved off?
Yeah.
It's enough to save some hours. You need, of course, that you're doing it right. You're not supposed to
Actually,
walk
there's
around.
only juice in there.
No more
Yeah.
beer?
There's the bottles of beer.
Did you take
Where?
the last beer?
Course.
Yeah.
He took the last beer.
Hey, there's one in the back.
Probably because they.
It's got some sticky stuff on it. You might have to wash the bottom. I don't know.
We'll have to buy some beer.
Depending on, I forgot all about you shooting her at a front of the television. I didn't Did I have a pellet gun last time, or I have a
There's no beer here.
On the door.
On the door, look. The Diet Coke.
It's
Don't
gone.
drink Diet Coke. Maybe Ben took it.
The other.
How do you like the feel now?
Ray bought more of
Looks
Beta,
beautiful.
bought one at a house sale for $75.
And,
You know what you said, a pile of dirt.
yeah, and they said, oh, gee, that's a good idea, you know. So I made it, and it was beautiful. And when I came to the party, it was sitting over on the side, and they had a dormitory in the party. They made a cake.
So did you get mad?
No.
No, I didn't get mad, I said, E.
That's the last time
Right.
I'll do that.
So that's how,
No, if they asked him again, he'd still do it.
no, I wouldn't.
Did you hear what Ray said? There's a lot of people that don't want to come because he's coming.
Because Harold's coming.
Because you're.
Oh, because Harold's
Oh,
coming.
me, I said, because Harold's coming.
Oh, I
Harold
I
said
think I'm gonna try
that.
to alienate a few people this time. I have,
Why? All the people who are coming we like.
I know how to alienate people.
I don't
You may
think
not
that
think
anybody-
A
that.
couple of them said, you know,
Grace,
You know
for
why,
coming here
Harold,
from
you're
is
Denver,
Harold
not
coming? And I
Well,
said,
wait,
yeah.
I'm not gonna be a wimp anymore. I'm gonna be an alienator.
Couple.
In other words, you're going to go up to somebody and you're going to say, why are you here?
A couple of them said to me, is Harold
Well,
coming?
invited
And I said,
you.
yeah, and they said, well, I got this toothache, or I gotta go up to Erie, or something like that, you know, they were nice about it.
Hey, Ruth, are any Gershons coming?
Well, that's what I'm
So
gonna do.
far,
I'm gonna
we're
go.
not quite
I'm gonna
sure.
go around and I'm gonna say, do you
You mean
belong
that-
to the Linkazite or the Rechtazite?
Myrna is not coming?
Link
No,
is left
Myrna
and
just
right.
got back from Europe.
And
Who
Natalie
just got
Turner?
that Myrna?
What's he doing there?
And then,
Natalie
Mark
Turner.
said.
Natalie has a sore throat, but she hopes to get over it.
She's a little busy.
She and Eugene want to come.
Well,
Fernie Lane?
Fernie is not coming,
They haven't
which
come
is
for a while,
okay with
have
me
they?
because
The
she's a pain in the
Costas
neck.
haven't come for a while, right?
no, see, there's another thing. The Kofsky girls
Let me
doesn't
get
ask,
past
they
you.
won't come.
Because
But
Melvin said.
nobody says a word, and they should. They're right. Nobody should say
But
a word.
Heidi's coming.
But I don't think, and that's the way I.
Heidi comes.
Yeah,
This
but the
turns
thing
it off.
is, I
That
got
turn-
mad
that
at
button
Andrew
turns
when
it
he
off.
called and practically begged Heidi to come. And when she got off the phone, I says, are you crazy to do that? Don't ever
Well,
do it again.
Okay, but what I'm saying is nobody will ever know unless you tell that story. That, you know, they'll just, the story will be Heidi couldn't come because she had
What's
a,
going
she
on?
had a
I hope there's
meeting
no
or
film in
whatever.
that.
But she is
Don't you
coming.
understand what I'm saying?
Heidi
But
isn't
Ann,
coming.
She's coming with her
But
boyfriend.
No, she's not.
That's what Hannah Ruffle told me.
but Ann
When?
will tell about her
About a week
daughter-in-law.
ago.
No, it's 2 days ago she's not
The
coming.
whole world knows. But Edie,
Still mad at us.
we all know how she feels about the
She's not mad at
Gershons.
you. She's
Harold,
mad at Harry,
okay?
Melvin.
But in front of everybody,
No.
they can't.
She was mad because we had the picnic here the year her mother
Take the
died.
kids to
She
school.
covers up another one.
When,
She said
when,
we shouldn't have had it.
that, when Johnny Narney had to take the
But
kids,
Sam
take
came.
Bobby to school, it was, you know, like, well, they really shouldn't have taken
The
this to
guy I'm
regular
gonna miss.
school the
I
day
miss
before
that.
the day after.
Yeah.
Yes, it is true.
Come
Yeah.
on, now that's exaggerated.
Well, maybe that
really
But
is.
Ann always has the attitude that her kids, and her kids know this. And you should see the way she talks to them. And everybody else knows it. Everybody, you know that
Well,
everybody.
maybe she wants them.
And
to
you
come.
know what, you're saying that's not true here, but you know what she says about her kids, to you, and to Edie, and to Irene, and to everybody.
She doesn't
And
say
it's
She
things
doesn't
about
say one
her.
bad thing about them.
Good.
I love-
Then I
She
apologize.
says Freddie
Then I
is going out of
apologize.
town for a show.
Then I apologize.
And Sherry went to
No, bless
Boston.
no believe her.
with
She
her
shouldn't do that.
And Arnold may come, but she doesn't
Oh,
think
don't do
Joni
that.
will. That's all she
Okay,
said.
I apologize, I said
You
too
know,
much.
I'm so
But-
ashamed.
Are you recording this, kid?
I'm gonna say
I would
to
never live in Pittsburgh.
I'm gonna say to them, do you
Ever.
belong to the Rechtazite or the Linkazite? It's the left side or the right side? Now, we're the right side.
You are, but.
The right side, and Linkazite is that other side.
That
Like the-
Gershons.
The Gershons side. And if they're gonna say which is which, I'm gonna say the one that has the 4 PhDs is the Rechtazite.
Because they were always so snotty when we were kids. They wouldn't invite
They have
us.
4 PhDs and
And
even
if you had an
even
opinion on
a
anything-
medical doctor.
If you had an opinion on anything, they would just, you know, it's
Mark
like,
is
how could you know
PhD.
anything?
Rob's PhD.
Hey,
Faye's
who's gonna use
PhD.
up the whole thing?
And,
We won't have
Arnold.
anything for the party.
Make it 5, Johnny.
Johnny, you know,
She has a PhD.
I know.
She's a
Oh, in
master.
She's not blood.
Oh,
See, if we couldn't count me.
Excuse me.
If Harold had one, we couldn't count him.
Well, if anyone opens that bathroom window, there's gonna be death in
Oh,
this.
yeah. I meant to tell everyone not to open it.
I was gonna
Listen.
Okay, cut it.
Hey,
You know, I was,
once he uses it, I think it's absolutely disgusting. Of course, I wouldn't be here. Huh? Quit it.
Stop. Stop with that.
What were you talking about, Rhoda?
Talking about whores.
Who was a whore?
Gee, Maxine.
It's enough already.
How come
Mama.
everybody gets
God,
quiet
you're
all
not
of a
gonna
sudden?
have 6 hours
Really,
left.
really lively conversation until I get this thing out.
Can you read? Are you
Oh, it was
recording the
out loud.
conversation also?
Huh?
Oh, you didn't.
What?
There's a conversation in there.
When I was
That's
making
part
my
of it.
famous speech about
About asking someone what a whore was.
no,
Yeah.
no, not then. Not then. When I was talking about Johnny.
I hope not. Cut it out.
How's that Barbara doing?
Cut it out.
Beautiful, that Barbara was.
I saw her not too long ago. She's not as beautiful as she was, but
She was
still-
gorgeous.
She was beautiful.
Who?
Barbara Boaz.
Oh, I don't know her.
No, you wouldn't know because she's not a singer.
I was gone already. I don't remember
Paul
her.
married?
Paul's married, has 2 children. Very, very nice looking
What
kids.
about his brother?
Kenny's not married.
He's in California still?
No, he's in Pittsburgh and he's on his way to becoming a
Okay, now.
PhD.
Muzzle talk. All makes good
What's
money.
that over there? Look at that. Look over there. What is that?
What?
Up there. Not you, dummy. Yeah.
Where, that plate?
Yeah. What is that?
It's an emoji.
Or
Look at this one.
I just wanted you to turn around and look at the camera.
My little boy, you wouldn't believe it, look at him. But we used to call him the Gerber baby. He looked like a Gerber
He
baby.
still looks like it. He still looks like it.
Down here he looks like it.
He's a handsome boy. And a nice boy. That's what counts.
A nice boy.
A nice fella.
Would he be here?
Well, Gil's husband's just like,
Oh, no,
Is
they're
Gail
not gonna
coming?
be here.
yeah, she's coming. Guess
So I went to, she brought me a doll in a case that you open up. There were little dresses hanging up there.
Oh, wow.
And I took that doll and I went to the library and fell and broke the doll's head.
Oh, gee.
And I came home, we had
Let's
a
help
mirror
her
in the
up.
hall, and I stood.
No,
in
I
front
think
of
I would
her
just
for
leave it
hours.
as it is.
So Polly went out and bought me another doll.
Oh, boy.
That's how good I had it.
And Polly was such a good parent. So generous.
Oh, yeah, she loved
She'd
dolls.
always come home with a bag of candy Saturday night. She gets paid. Come home with a bag of candy. All the kids.
Now, I remember with shoes, I'd be down to Kaufman's basement. Skip in there and say, Pauline, I need a new pair of shoes. She'd say, shh, I have a given in the back. She'd save shoes. And,
She knew all our sizes and she bought us the clothes. And until I was 35 years old, in Boston, I didn't buy any clothes. And she told me it's about time you bought your own stuff.
and she used to go out and buy us shirts and everything.
Wow.
She used to get shoes
She
that
always
are
looking at the
returned,
prices.
good shoes that are returned. And she said, well, that's Mark's size and she
They
doesn't.
treated her terrible down there at the
I know.
basement. She worked there for, I don't know how many years. Instead of getting up on ladders, she used to straddle the two inside, where you took the shoes out.
Oh, yeah.
Used to straddle both
Shells?
shelves
To
to
just
get
get it right.
shoes down.
rented it.
No, Amy, the story of something young influencing your life.
Yeah.
The best one is Harry. You know the story of Harry? They couldn't toilet train him. They showed him the potty and he wouldn't use it. But once he was missing,
They have signs that
and they found him behind the door. He had taken one of the cooking pots and did it in a cooking
That's
pot.
right. That's I heard.
And that's why he's so ass-oriented.
Well, we don't know that.
But,
We don't know he's ass-oriented.
yes, he's always worried about when he's going to do it next.
Oh, that's true.
He'd sit in the
want
toilet
me to
3, 4
photograph
times a
you?
day.
You have any stories?
Well, I thought that maybe, since it's my father's 75th birthday, that you could say some story that you remember of him. Because I
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
all his brothers and
I
sisters
can
to have
remember.
a little story about him that they, one of their favorite stories that they can remember.
All I can remember is he was this crazy guy up on the 3rd floor who studied all the time. He'd come down with his hair straight up in the air and holler at me for dancing and making noise in the living room. Well, what did I care?
You were like
All I did
Reuben.
was
You were like Reuben.
jitterbug and have fun.
How old were you? How old was he?
Oh, I don't know. You
Well,
were going to Pitt.
So
How much older are you? Well, you're 75. I'm 64.
Anxious to go back to school, or are you back already?
11 years older.
So I must have been maybe
Sorry about her.
I mean,
I was in
You look at her now.
early high school.
You look the same as when
Hey,
you were
excuse
10
me,
or 2
guys.
years old.
When I was in kindergarten, I had the same hairdo. But
Okay,
he
so
was
how
like
old-
a madman.
how
I
old
have
were you?
Reuben better than anyone.
Well,
I
I
had
must
to
have
check
been
with Max coming up, and I
ninth
kept saying
grade in
Adam,
high
and we
school,
couldn't
I
remember
guess.
Reuben's name.
Uh-huh.
And
last time
he
we
was
were-
going to Pitt
Last year, Reuben and I went out.
and studying like crazy. He'd come down screaming and yelling and turn off the radio, and I can't study and there's too much noise, and I was really afraid of him. That's all I remember
Mommy
about
used to
you.
worry about, I said, Mommy, I used to worry I would have a big exam tomorrow. So she said, well, how did you do in your exam? I said, I think I flunked, but I made an A.
That's pretty normal.
He used to
Yeah,
come
4
home and
years
the first thing he did was pull her apron
I
string.
thought you were-
His mom?
Yeah.
How old was he? How old was he? What are you talking about?
How old was he?
He was
He
at
in
Pitt?
college.
But he was probably 24, right?
I don't know how old people are then.
How old were you?
I was in about the 9th grade in high school.
I
don't remember.
started college after I worked for 4 years as a truck driver.
Oh,
And then I was 20 years old.
Not going into biology or
so you
anything?
started late.
Yeah. I graduated when I was 24.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Well, I don't know.
So what's the
Younger
story?
people
What's
are-
the story you remember?
That's the story. That's the only thing I remember about him as a kid.
Don't you remember when I
But
was
I don't
driving?
remember anything else about, because I really didn't have that much.
When I drove the
relationship
truck and
with
you
him.
worked in the store?
What?
Do you remember when I was driving the truck?
I was a kid. I don't
Hey,
remember.
you worked in the store.
No, that was later on. When I worked in the store, Melvin was driving the truck.
How old are you now, Rhoda?
I'm 64 as of 2
Harold-
weeks ago.
Harold
You're
says
11
60
years younger.
Harold says 65.
No, I'm 64.
All right, so you're 11 years younger.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay? I didn't have much relationship with him. So it's
They
okay.
were all scratching
Really.
for themselves.
You said you remember when I used to give you a ride on my shoulder.
Oh, yeah. He used to do that, and he also used to take me for a ride in a truck and tell me that, he used to scare me. He used to say he was going to let me off the truck and put me on the road and go away. Like a dummy, I used to believe him and cry.
How old were you then?
Must have been maybe 6 years old.
How come you said that, Dad? That was
He
sort of
was-
mean.
He was nasty. They
Nice
all
to
teased
torture
me.
her.
Huh?
She
You
was
had
so
another
cute.
girl with him probably, and they wanted to
She
get rid
was
of
so
Rhoda.
cute, you know.
That's the whole damn
Remember when
situation.
Kate used to bite your fingers?
Some guy used to say to me, here's some nickel fingers.
Kate up the hill, she loved to bite kids'
But he
fingers.
was getting rid of
She
me.
got hold of Robbie, she bit his fingers until he cried.
Who was that?
Kate.
Hmm.
She said, oh, you're so cute. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Ketzel.
Robbie was the cute one.
Well, what do you remember about Rhoda, Dad, when she was little?
She looked exactly the same. She had the same
What
hairdo.
do you mean when she was little?
And she was 2 years old, she's so cute.
That's all he remembers. What else does he know? He was gone from the house from the time I grew up, practically.
I can tell you a lot of stories about Nat. He was interesting, wasn't he?
Yeah, I could tell you stories about Nat. See, I
Oh,
had,
yeah,
I
heard
had
him
more
the last time.
relationship with
You
him.
heard him too, Robbie, the last time we were up here.
He used to come home from, he worked later. He'd come home later. He worked for Paulson Cleaning Company. And he'd come home, and my mother would have a dinner waiting for him, the king. And then afterwards, he would take a nap on the couch, and he would tell me to play records and to wake him at a certain time.
How
So
much
I used
older
to
than
play-
you was he?
What?
How much older than you was he?
Well, let's
He was
see.
19 months younger than I,
So,
so he would have been about 10 years older.
but he was home longer.
Yeah.
And then I'd wake him up. I'd play music. I'd wake him up, and I'd tell him it was time to get dressed. He'd go upstairs. He'd get all dressed up, and come downstairs, and I'd say, "Boy, do you look handsome." Turn around. "Oh my God, the girls are just going to love you. Listen, Nat, I have to go to the show tonight," and he'd give me 50 cents. I was the only one he ever gave any money to. That's how I used to get it. Oh, he was so cheap.
I used to get it by ironing hands, clothes,
She used to pay me 10 cents
an hour.
to do all her slips. Can you imagine we used to iron hankies, men's handkerchiefs, and even the shorts?
Sheets.
Is that ridiculous?
I used to iron sheets, you know, with that
The
mangler.
mangler. You did?
Yes, I love to do it.
You're nuts. Used to sit and mangle.
Yeah, on Baywood Street, in the basement.
Do you remember the fruit cellar Mama used to lock up? She'd have the best stuff in there, all her jelly and root beer and pies and cakes. And she'd have to lock it up because we'd eat it all up.
She made root beer, you know.
Yeah,
And
they
they
used
used
to go
to pop.
pop.
They get warm air.
We
in
thought
there.
it was delicious. It probably was lousy.
That was good. And it would pop. And all flow out.
Did
They
your
had
mother
those
can?
beautiful little corks, you know.
Did she do a lot of canning?
She did a lot of
Yeah, she did canning.
canning,
Because my
and
father used to bring home a bushel basket.
she used to get so mad.
She
She used to
just
bring
said-
home pickles, little cucumbers.
In
And
those
then
days,
she
it-
would make those pickles by the time they'd be done for Rosh Hashanah, September.
It was delicious. They were
And
better
those
than-
big
better than
pots you
plastic, I'll
had,
tell
the
you
big
that.
crocks
Were they like milky, the fluid in them sort of
Yeah.
milky?
with a lot of
With
dill
a
and
lot of
everything
dill.
in it.
A lot of dill.
Yeah, and those wonderful crocks that cost a fortune now. You
Yeah.
know, those white crocks?
You saw
They're
them
half
$100
brown, half
there.
white.
Huh?
Brown halfway up.
Yeah, some
The white
were
down there.
white.
I just
And
bought the
then
lid to
the
one of them.
root beer bottles that had the beautiful little porcelain corks.
I have 2 cases of them in the shed up there.
Do you?
Yeah. They're reproducing them, and there's a certain type of beer that reproduce them with the porcelain cap
Yeah?
and the brown bottom. It's a premium beer. I don't know what it is, but
Hey, Rhoda.
I bought two cases of empties.
Hey, Rhoda, what are your observations about my father now that he's 75?
One of my observations.
He's an altar cocker.
He's a wonderful man.
You think so,
Oh,
Rhoda?
yeah. Well, you know how everybody feels in the family about Mark. They all think he's special.
You
Why,
thinking-
why is that?
Maybe it's because of intelligence. We always admired intelligence.
Is he really all that smart?
I don't know, is he? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, is he really smarter than anybody else, or is it just because he got a PhD?
Maybe it's because he got a PhD. I don't know if he's smarter. Are you
You know,
smarter?
I don't
Yeah,
think-
Harry's very
I don't
smart.
think so. Mommy treated us all equal, you know?
Nah, she treated you a little bit better. But
Uh,
we all liked you so much that nobody was jealous.
That's what I was gonna say. In
They
building,
did she did treat him the best.
in building Mark up, have you
Deep
neglected
down.
Harry?
But deep down, she had a special spot, I think, for him.
Why is that?
Well, because she lost Sarah. And then she became pregnant and hoped she'd have a boy that would look like Sarah, and she had Mark.
So,
Looked like Sarah.
so she was pregnant when she lost Sarah?
No, she lost Sarah and then became pregnant, I think.
Yeah.
It was the only,
Who was
she
Sarah?
says it was the only pregnancy she wanted.
Hmm.
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
How come she had so many children?
Because she didn't know about birth control.
She
Nope.
said you shouldn't be buckets.
Also,
That's
also
the
the-
same, Mrs. Hellman from the Ikes came to
Social
see her
work.
one day and said, tried to tell her about birth control. So she thought it was most the wonderful thing she ever heard. My father wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Ellen left some rubbers too.
Yeah.
in those days the house was cold too. They didn't get up and take care of themselves.
You know, there's Eddie Green. He wanted me to tell him things about his mother. And I thought of a lot of things, but I wouldn't tell him. For example, when they lived on Woody Street on the 3rd floor, I used to go over to play with Smokey. You remember Smokey?
Yeah.
Sylvan.
Yeah.
We'd crawl around on the floor. We were crawling under the bed, and there these things were hanging down from the bed. I didn't know what they were then, but later on
Why were they hanging from the bed?
they were rubbers, you know, and
Well, why?
he wouldn't throw them out.
He was using them again.
He would just reach under and hang it between the
Oh, gee.
springs of the mattress.
They were
He was giving them probably
disgusting
mattress, and
family.
Dad was taking them out and reselling them.
Oh, that's disgusting.
And I remember when she lived down first floor on Lombard Street.
It's
Well,
way before my time.
and Pauline was so disgusted, and she was telling Mommy, you know, they didn't have Kotex in, so she used rags. And then she soaked these rags in a pot on the cellar steps.
That's a disgusting story.
How can I tell?
How about, whatever happened to Florence and Edith and,
Melvin.
did they have a Melvin?
Yeah, the boy was Melvin. Florence is still in Washington. I think Melvin had a heart attack and died.
I know Edith died years ago.
No, Edith is still living.
No.
Who's the first one that
What's
got
their
married
last
in the
name?
family?
No, I don't think so. That's Heretsky's kids I'm talking
Him from the
I
Huntington.
just saw her last year.
Edith?
Yeah,
Florence was so homely.
yeah.
It was a pity. She had her forehead, listen to this, her forehead, she had no bridge. So it went straight down like this. Nowadays they could probably
Like
fix
a
it.
Neanderthal.
Oh, you mean,
Unbelievable. And the
I
parents,
guess she had a brow like.
yeah, there was no bridge here.
Oh.
It didn't go
The
in.
parents were so ugly.
Yeah.
The parents both were ugly, but I had to go to kindergarten with her. I had to go to kindergarten with her, and her name was Singer. And they were so dirty that she was in front of me. Florence was in front of me, and I could see the lice fly from her head up in the air. I can remember this so clearly, and I got called. They used to examine your head in those
Yeah.
days. I got sent home. My mother had a fit. What they didn't do to my head to get rid of them, just how dirty they were.
Who was this girl?
This was my father's brother.
Younger brother.
And this brother was raised
He was a
by
huckster.
Arabs.
He was a huckster.
He was raised by Arabs in Israel, in
Yeah.
Palestine at the time.
Egypt.
Because his mother
My
and
father
father,
used to call him the Egyptian.
my father's mother and father wouldn't come to America, but they decided to go to Palestine because it would be closer to
Here's
America.
one they went.
How do you like that for a map? Thinking the map of the world. Then they got caught in the First World War, died of the flu, and they left this younger
No,
boy.
he died of,
Did they have the flu?
no, he died of a liver ailment.
Oh, I thought it was
And
flu.
she was killed in an Arab riot.
I didn't know. I thought
2
they
years
died
later.
of the flu.
No.
See, I got my story all
Bobby
wrong.
told me,
Papa knows all, you know.
but it must have been cancer of the liver.
So this Harry was his name.
He was a huckster.
Did you go on vacation this year, Ruth?
Hmm?
Did you go on a vacation anywhere?
We went to Michigan. We usually do that every summer.
Did you boat up there? Huh?
Sleepy.
You on the water? Yeah.
Hey, Ray, hand me over one of those Kleenexes, will you?
45.
You owe me, you owe me a
it's
damn penny.
7:45.
You owe me,
chains and stuff, you know, cost money.
what,
Skill.
what change?
For the swing.
I think that's,
Oh,
Mom.
what's her name,
Ben's
bought
your
it. She
grandfather's,
bought the parts, I didn't pay my, it's my labor.
Or maybe it's your grandmother's
Like-
father. It's one of those.
I'll give you
two
$5 an hour.
Boy, that's
Give me
beautiful.
$5 an hour.
You must be tired.
No, I'm
What
not
kind of
tired.
car did you drive?
And, you know,
She
that's good.
drove, Christ.
You followed my directions too.
Well, you know what happened, there was
Hey.
only one
Is it,
mistake.
who is this in, is
We
this
get
your
out
father's father?
167.
My mother's father.
Oh, your mother's
Listen
father.
to me.
Hi.
So what was
We
his
made
name?
it.
He just
Let me get my
arrived.
things.
That were my directions.
I'm gonna get used to being on film. Your directions were fine.
Get your stuff?
Well, listen.
We
where-
made one wrong turn.
Where are they staying?
We're at Pierpont.
You're staying upstairs in the corner room.
Where am I sleeping?
You're
In
sleeping
the basement,
in
Harry.
the,
Basement?
John's not here, you're sleeping in John's room.
My-
It's the one at the end, the little,
Okay.
patriotic.
I've never seen
Very
that
good.
picture.
Patriot. What the hell are you doing there?
Maybe look just like
I'm
the
taking a
actor.
picture of
Do you know what that
Yes,
costs?
Linda?
Do you know what you're doing? You're spending all that money on me?
Oh, that's Booby's father.
Hey,
Believe me, it's a waste.
I agree with
He
you.
was a sport,
Hey.
you know, always dressed to a cool.
He was an old
Really?
fox.
Yeah?
He's an
what
old
kind of car
fox.
did
He's
you
no
drive?
goddamn good.
Oh, we got a, Grand Am, 4-door,
From what company?
National.
It's better than the Hertz or Avis.
It's $500 less than Hertz or
Yeah.
Avis. Avis wouldn't even give us a card to do a one-way trip with.
You want us to take your stuff out?
Hi.
Hey, kid.
Oh, you mean you gotta
Come
go
on,
back
let's
out
get your
there?
stuff
Yeah.
out. You have
Okay.
the key to the car?
Rob, you
I
can
thought you had the key to the car.
Take the big stuff.
I have the key to my car.
Do you not have the key to my car?
No. Who's the key to
Ruben,
my
you have to
car?
leave the keys
Aren't you
in the
mad at
lock in
Family?
case there's a fire. No one can get out of the house.
No.
I think I guessed
He
right.
took us out to dinner. Harry took us out to dinner.
No.
I told her,
Oh, it's so nice to be here. Big suitcases.
Oh, well,
what are you gonna do? Why don't you kill those damn things,
We
Rob?
don't have any rays.
It's right here.
Hey, Ben, grab her, shoot.
Oh,
Hold
oh,
on,
that's
hold
okay,
on.
when you turn the close the door, it's not gonna happen.
Try me grab hold.
You want me to help you hold the bottom and you pull off the top?
Yeah.
Here, I'll.
Dad, squeeze the cap of your hat.
I think it'll pick up the sound without getting that close.
Thank you.
What a pretty dog.
I wish you'd take a picture of me.
This is wonderful.
You know what it is?
It's San
I
Francisco.
got a book I'm gonna read all day tomorrow.
It's French, it's San
Hold it
Francisco
up,
t-shirt.
hold it up.
Pam, you can open it.
I know where you got it.
I
too.
think that you need to model this for the barbecue tomorrow.
Oh, it's a,
All
it's
right.
an
Very
apron.
good.
That's great.
Yes, that's exactly what I need.
An
An
apron.
apron, yeah, I have one at home, you know.
Oh, that's great.
This
Is
is
that,
beautiful.
Jesus, watch out.
You now see the famous Marcus Singer modeling his San Francisco Giants Captain Sings and
Dad, look at the camera.
his barbecue
I think-
attire.
I think you should have it. What did I do with my drink? Is this my drink?
No,
Hey,
it's
thank
not.
you, Linda, old gal.
Where's my drink?
You drank and you ate the glass.
You gonna cook it there tomorrow?
What's that?
You gonna cook it
Get out of my way. Thanks, thanks a lot.
Are you gonna cook it now tomorrow?
Yeah. Jackie will be real happy to see this on me, because I always get my stuff dirty.
Oh,
And I gotta wear.
Let me
like two,
see.
three-
Sit down next to Lyndon.
Oh, that's cute. That's a cute picture.
Come here, you can come with me too.
Okay.
Here, Ben, you hold it and take a picture of Pam.
Oh.
Thank you.
Jeez.
And we're on 2 cameras.
Yeah.
Linda, what do you want to say to the cat?
That's a
This
video.
is a movie about it.
Austerity.
How do you like this, Rob?
Is there sound?
These two wonderful diesels.
There's sound? Yeah, there's sound.
This is Mitski's daughter. Mitski's daughter.
Who's doing
Mitski, we used to call him. Oh, it is a Yiddish name.
it? Are you going to wear this to barbecue tomorrow?
Yes, ma'am. And,
Remember how you wanted one when you were in San Francisco and you
Oh, yeah.
didn't?
So it
You
took
bought
care-
something for everybody else but for yourself.
I know I needed this.
You look real handsome in it. Doesn't he look handsome in it?
You're called Ann.
Thanks.
What?
You're called Ann.
Cold hand?
Did you sit over
Yeah.
there? I'll get a picture of the tree.
Yeah, then this hand doesn't.
Kids are gorgeous.
I get that one, sleep on my hand, you know, I have all
Oh,
the
yeah.
sleep.
Now, I want to let you know that whenever you come to San Francisco, you have a place to stay.
This is Linda, Rob.
That'll make you
Planning
smile
to
real
do
good.
From California. Feed them, and we come home, we weren't hungry. Mom would say, "What's the matter? You're not hungry." But not with Harry. Harry.
Is that why whenever we didn't eat, he said the same thing to us when we were kids? He said, you had candy, didn't you?
So, as long as I'm taping this, why don't you,
Remember in the corner there, 3 for a dime, Harry? 3 bars, the Babe Ruth or Clark bars.
We buy a bag of candy for a penny, a prize bag. And sometimes the prize was always a penny. So we turn around and buy another.
Harry, on my father's 75th birthday, what is something that you remember about him over the years? What's an outstanding memory you have?
Pork chops and watermelon.
What's an incident you remember?
Maybe you can think of
I
one.
can't repeat it.
So, you can't repeat it.
How about when you can repeat?
Too busy eating, they start
Steubenville.
talking.
Steubenville.
It has to do with Mark being the driver in the truck number 1. And I was the driver in truck number 2. And we thought we fooled the public. So one day, we went over and picked up, like dummies, we quoted a price on cleaning wall-to-wall carpeting. And we didn't realize at the time, being novices, that you clean wall-to-wall carpeting on the floor. So we removed the carpets and these people who were going to France for a month or 2. So we figured we'd be able to lift the carpets up and put them down. We did. Jesus.
Oh, no. How old were you? What year is this?
I was younger than 20. I must have been 18 years old, and so he was 19.
Well,
And that was 17.
The 3 of you were in on this?
And that was the guy. I had a stand in town where I sold papers. I decided to quit. I turned it over to Nat. And he really turned it into a business. First of all, we sold magazines at Collier's, at Liberty, and Saturday Evening Post. And also, he had a couple pornographic books he'd rent out to his customers for 25 cents a night. His Memoirs of Fanny Hill,
Yeah,
which was a famous one.
that's a great story.
And then
And then
he also,
move it over there.
there was a corner where, where railroad cross streetcars, and people would get off one and get on the other, get a transfer. So he'd give the conductor a paper every day, and finally the conductor wanted to do something for him, so he gave him a whole book of transfers. So Nat would sell them to his customers for 8 cents a piece.
Instead of what, 10?
Well, they'd have to pay a quarter to ride.
But Nat always wasn't always shaky in his business practices.
He was a good businessman.
When he must have been.
He was shrewd.
He must have been under 10 at the time. And one winter day, our father had a shop on 6th Street, right across of where the Fulton is now, the theater. In fact, it used to be called the Gaiety. There was a very
burlesque show.
A very fancy burlesque. So his Littman Elbaum came running up to him and says, "Barrow, you got to come down right away. Put your coat on." It was a winter day, I would say a week or two before Christmas. So he says, "What's wrong? Come on, let's go. There's nothing terrible, but you got to come down and see it." So I happened to have been in the store at the time, shop at the time, and we all went down and we walked up towards 6th Street and
Smithfield.
No, 6th Street and Penn, where I think the Pittsburgh Life building was at the time. It was just beyond the Low East Theater, which is now the Pittsburgh Symphony, the Heinz Hall. And there was this little piping voice yelling, "All right, folks, 35 cents, 3 for $1. You throw it up, and it comes down and lands on your feet." And there was Nat, a cute little kid, with an apron, coining the money. The people he couldn't serve them fast enough. He had a balloon, which was weighted, painted like Santa Claus.
You know, it was like a Mickey Mouse with feet that were weighted. So it always landed on his feet.
And that's what your father was. He was
Made a bundle off of it, huh?
he was always making money. He couldn't figure out.
Yeah, I'll tell you how he made the money. You know, there was a guy, he got hold of Nat and myself, and I think Harry was involved. And he said, it was a holiday. He said, "Kid, you want to make some money? Well, put you out in a park and you sell these balloons for 25 cents, whatever you can get. And then when you come back in, I'll pay you off good."
This was in the ballpark? Forbes Field or something?
No, it was like Shenley Parker.
Uh-huh.
I went out to Carrick Park, and I came back and I gave the guy all the money I had collected, and he gave me $1. And so Nat came back, and he said, "So what'd you make?" I told him, he paid me $1. We worked all day, and Nat said, "You're crazy." I said, "How much did you make?" He says, "I made $15. I said, "How could you make $15? He says, "Well, I sold it for 20 cents and I put a nickel in this pocket and just put the rest in the other, in my, the apron pocket." And he says, "I put some in my back pocket." He says, "He's a crook." And the guy was exploiting, like in David Copperfield, huh?
So
David
Dad took his
Copperfield.
cut first.
That's one thing I like about John Irving's books. They refer to Dickens and
Jane Eyre.
And Jane Eyre. Who wrote Jane Eyre? The Bronte girl, didn't they? Did you read that book, Amy?
She's reading it, so
love
don't.
that book. Oh, Santa Claus Rules or Jane Eyre?
Yeah, you're through that part. Or they read every night to the girls Jane Eyre, to the boys David Copperfield.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm there right now in that part of the book.
I have to read those two books, reread them, because they Jesus, you'll have to read that.
I'll get to it.
You'll laugh anyway. I mean, it's just crazy the way he writes about common, ordinary things.
Yeah.
It makes it such a
Very humorous.
Not only humorous, but a very tender. That kid wanted to be adopted.
Didn't graduate. They wouldn't let me graduate. I was short. I was short of enough. I needed another credit, so they said that they won't give me my diploma. So years, and during that time I went to a standard evening high school to get my diploma, so I could go to college. And then what happens is years later, Harry becomes principal of that school, and he was going through the safe, and he finds a diploma of mine there, sitting in a safe, and with a note from a teacher about my, he said, this kid is very bright, he has a high IQ, we don't understand him. But he didn't get through. So Harry throws a party for me in graduation.
Now, wait a minute, there's one thing in this. On the diploma, there was a note attached. Besides what you read, or what you recall, it also says, to be given to Marcus at the discretion of the principal. And being a principal, I decided to assume that responsibility. Your story, Mark.
So then Harry threw a graduation party for me and presented me with the diploma, which I promptly had framed, and I have it at home. I'll show it to you sometime.
And when were you presented with this diploma?
What, 25 years later?
Something like that.
What were you? Were you at, you
I
were
was
like
already,
a chairman of a department at,
no, I was a professor, or associate professor. I was at Cornell.
uh-huh.
There's only one other factor in you were not granted you were punished by not being permitted to participate in the graduating class, the commencement program.
Yeah.
But if you hadn't completed that second year of physics, you still had sufficient credits, according to state law, to receive your diploma.
So they really screwed me out of it.
That's right. But you wanted that second year of physics because it would enhance your opportunities to be admitted to
And I hated
college.
that teacher. His name was Doc Ogden, and he was anti-Semitic. He would call us Jew Peter.
Yeah, but the reason
He wouldn't say Jupiter, he'd say Jew Peter.
Yeah, but the reason you got thrown out of the class is because he asked you a question which you apparently was having difficulty in answering. And he started to berate you and said if you would spend more time doing your homework and listening, you would be able to answer these questions. And Dr. Ogden then said to Mark, after that tirade, he said, now what do you say about that, Marcus? And you know what Marcus said? And this is a terrible thing. And as a former principal at Fifth Avenue High School, I have difficulty repeating it. Mark says, if you would quit playing around with the girls in this class and spend more time teaching, I might be able to answer the questions that you're asking. Which he shouldn't have done. He should have had respect for the
I
principal.
should have said, fuck you.
You could include that in there? That's why he threw you out, Mark.
Was he playing around with the girls in the class?
Sure he did.
He's the pincher who took us away.
Sounds a lot like you.
Not me. I'm a clean man. I'm just a dirty old man now.
That's all. I mean, he's thinking a lot. And listen, as they say in Latin, what's his neshama? A Hojenki? Is that right, Mark?
Yeah. That's Yiddish. And what do you think his soul is? A raisin? Mama used to say that from public.
Yeah. This is his neshama, a Hojenki. Jesus.
I was a dirty young man, but not a dirty old man. But not a dirty teacher.
But I'll tell you, Robbie, the guy who really should hold center stage is Nat. There's a guy, even innocently, he causes trouble. He goes ahead, and when he was in the elementary school, and unscrews the seat of a girl who sits in front of him. At that time, the seats were secured to the floor. So the girl sits on the seat, she topples over. So naturally, the teacher kicked him out of class. The only trouble with that, you remember that, Mark? The only trouble with that is the kid, Nat at the time, figures, hell, if he threw him out of class, he's going down and sell his papers. And it's unfortunately for everybody, his stand was right in front of the Frick building, right next to Kaufman's. So one of his customers, who happened to like Nat, came down. I guess it was around lunch hour, and he sees Nat, and he says, why aren't you in school? He says, the principal kicked me out of school, and she says that I can't come back until my mother comes with me. And he says to this person, this prominent person at the Frick building, he said, but my mother can't come down because she has a large family and she has to wash clothes and do other things. So it so happened, unfortunately, that this man who was interested in that happened to be a member of the Board of Education. So, he did.
Can't see your face with your hand in front.
Oh, so he calls principal at Miller's school, who happened to be Cockeyed Lido. Is that right?
Yeah.
We call her Cockeyed Lido. Cockeyed Lido. So Cockeyed Lido got pissed off because she felt that the only way that would know what to do a thing like that is through our sister Kate, who unfortunately was doing her student teaching at Miller's school.
Yeah.
So Cockeyed Lido calls Kate and says, your brother is causing so much trouble. He went over to a member of the Board of Education. He complained because I suspended him from school, which he deserved after loosening the screws on the seat of the student in front of him. And so Kate came home that day crying like hell. She says, I'll never get a job.
No, then he turns around, they let him back in, and he brings a knife and carves the top of the desk.
He was no good, Mark. I mean, he was not a scholar. He was not even a student. He was just a pupil, that's all he was. And a pupil according to the law. Oh, Jesus. Man.
But he in his later years became so interested in the family.
Yeah, I remember when Annie...
He loved to come here.
When Annie was doing batiking, Annie needed rolls of linen and cotton. And so this one summer I'm down at Melvin's, and I said, Melvin, at Nat's, and I said, Nat, is there any way we can buy this stuff so it isn't so costly for Annie in her artwork? He says, sure, we'll get down to the wholesale house. This is in Los Angeles. He gets down, and he noticed that there was 2 bolts of cloth, one linen and one cotton. God, how many yards? Must have been several hundred yards in each bolt. And he makes a deal that he would like to buy this, and he wanted a heavy discount because it was resting on the floor and the edges of the roll were soiled. So the guy says, okay, I'll give it to you just to get it the hell out of here. And he charged him $50 or $60 for a bolt of each of these pieces of material. So I said to Dad, okay, I'll pay him. Dad said, no, don't pay him. I'll charge him to the to the Singer cleaners, and then you give me the cash. That's my brother then. Oh, God.
I used to work out.
Oh.
There was a period when the stand had to be repaired, and he had to bring all his wares home. He used to keep them locked in the stand, and so he brought them home and put them up in the closet of his room, and Pauline was cleaning up, and she found them, and she took them down and showed it to Mom. Mom says, throw them out. So Pauline threw them out, and Nat threw a fit. And there's an aftermath to that. That book that he made so much money on, when I went to a flea market here, I found it. For 25 cents, I bought it home. And then one time it disappeared. And I said either Harry took it or Nat took it, because Nat had stayed in my room there. And I think he picked it up, he took it back. It must be there in California.
Yeah. All I know is that even when that
Day of the Singer Picnic, Saturday, August 26th, 1989. We've been running around all morning getting corn and tomatoes and all sorts of soda.
The scene of corn husking on the Singer farm. This is only
Here's-
one of the attractions of the Singer reunion. Later in this film, you will notice various scenes of Singer family. Just wait.
Yeah, okay, you can film a little bit of this.
And I found
Controlling the lens. Okay, here we are. We're about to begin the Singer picnic. It's almost noon. Edie's here, Herbie, Aunt Ann, Gershensons, Jackie, who's that? Harold, Sadie, Harry, Ray up on the porch. And you know, Reuven, we got to keep from filling up this front yard with cars. I think what we'll do is let them unload, and then Ben will take the car around behind the garage. What are you filming over there? Nobody's interested in bushes. Bring the camera this way.
This yard has to be emptied.
Let's see what's
before
going on
12
at the
o'clock
corn
noon.
husking center.
We'll see if this task is fulfilled. Just wait.
But no, you were going out of the restaurant
Bring the camera over
in
here.
Pittsburgh.
Over this way.
When we came back from, oh look at
Okay.
When
Focus
we-
on Aunt Ann and
when
Jackie.
we came back from the restaurant, we were out at the Edie's party. And you were crossing the road, and Mark said, "Come on!" And I thought it was a cute picture. No, that's a good picture of you. Look, yeah, and I have some for you here, which you should take to Pittsburgh. I selected them for you. Maybe they will be yours. And I sent some to Edie. Oh yeah, but here, this is
Should we walk down the road and dump this
They were in the back seat because I took over.
somewhere?
I think it's all this one from the others.
Then no one has to take it to
They're
Cleveland.
not bad, but the camera did not work very well. Yeah, if you want to take them, I'm willing to give them to you, but they are not the best.
The Horn of Plenty. Come over here and film
Yeah, and you will look at these two. Yeah, but it's not.
Oh,
It's
get
not
Herbie,
on
get Herbie.
the.
What?
I was thinking we could take it out in the field.
That's a problem.
Dump it somewhere.
It's not on focus. It's not perfect. But it is on focus, you know. Fine.
So they don't have to
Yeah,
take it to
because I
Cleveland.
was probably too close.
Here on the soda.
Well, I tell you, let's put it all together.
Has he got any film in there?
This way,
Oh,
this
I
way.
can't believe
Robbie, you want to put this on or?
What?
You want to put this on the can? I think Mark's about to.
Take out service.
You say it?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
Why not?
Right now, he'll take it.
Get Ben.
Nice and refreshing.
Okay, enough on that. There's Ben over there.
Beverages of the Singer family reunion.
Get Ben over there. Ben has already started to relax at the Singer.
Lonely Ben, alone in the sun, with his tongue out of his mouth.
He's already
Do a
relaxing at the
constellation
Singer.
right here.
Okay, pause it.
What?
Anne and Mark, and Anne is Mark's oldest living sister, and she's going to tell us some interesting stories about her younger brother. Now, how much older are you than he is?
5 years.
5 years older.
You're 75, aren't you?
Well, 74, really.
So he's 75 and you're 80, right?
I'm 80.
Okay.
That's why.
Now,
I usually
do you
go-
remember when he was born?
No.
What's the first thing you remember about him?
I remember him in,
No, I'm not doing that much.
I remember when we were going to move out of Lombard Street to Baywood Street. And he and my dad says, we can all move and they're staying here. They're staying in Lombard Street. They're not going to move to East End. So we waited till they weren't there and we all moved ourselves and they had to come to Baywood Street. And they were all very happy there. That's one of the first things I remember about Mark. He always sided with my dad.
Uh-huh.
But
Who sided with your mother?
All the girls.
All the girls. We all sided with my mother. My mother had no trouble being, she had no trouble that way. But one of the most interesting things I remember about Mark is when I was very ill, and nothing seemed to bring down my fever. I had
When was this that you were very ill?
1948.
Uh-huh. What
Yeah.
did you have?
I had blood poisoning from the operation.
Yeah, she had
You still have your place.
she
They
was
called-
born with a cyst in her liver, and they got infected.
They operated on me, and I got blood poisoning, and nothing would bring the fever down. They gave me streptomycin, wasn't it? That was the only thing that was available at that time. Very shortly, a few days during that time, I was still living. My temperature had gone up to 104, 105. Mark called up the doctor and says, give her, penicillin has been released to the public. He says, give her penicillin intravenously and keep on giving her the other medicine.
10 million units,
And
no limit.
he says, the doctor says, you're going to kill her. So Mark says, she's dying anyway. He says, do it. And they did it, and I lived. Fever came down just remarkable.
So you think he saved your life?
He sure did. They would have never done it there.
Hmm.
They were giving her 5,000 units, of penicillin finally. And I spoke to Bloomgarten at the Beth Israel. And he said, they're crazy. He said, well, you use as much as necessary. Go up to 1 million units right away.
Doing anything exciting besides whether it's sick or...
Oh, there's a lot of things. Mark used to come down, and we'd call him for dinner. See, I don't remember him as a child because I was older and out of the house, and he was always studying. And he'd come down for dinner with his hair standing up or mussed up. He was studying so much. And
That's what Rhoda said. She remembers him coming down and telling her to shut up.
yeah, he was up in the the men's quarters up on the 3rd floor. And he only come down to eat.
Or is he calling a telephone?
Call the telephone.
That's when I was wooing Leah. Remember, I used to be on for hours. She called me or I'd call her.
Yeah, I'll tell you another thing was so beautiful was when that stands out in my memory was when he graduated University of Pitt, and he was called up to get he graduated with highest honors, and we were
Highest honors means first in his class?
He was in the highest honors. Were you
Summa, was that summa cum, Dad?
What?
Is that what we call summa cum?
Summa cum laude. It's on my diploma.
Uh-huh.
And he was called, he walked on that field.
I had something like a 3.9.
Uh-huh.
Up on the field. And we were all so proud to see him there, you know.
Did he get a special award or something like that, or?
Oh, he got a scholarship to Woods Hole and a scholarship to Harvard, didn't you?
The fellowship to Harvard. The prize fellow, awesome teaching fellowship, which was worth.
Didn't you tell me once, Dad, that they didn't want to give the fellowship to a Jew?
Yeah, except for Wald, you know, Fox.
George Wald.
George Wald, yeah.
So they said, what did they say? They said, we don't want to give this fellowship to someone who's Jewish? Is that the...
Yeah.
No, they never said that. They would never say.
They never said it openly, but Wald told me. Wald says, look at his record.
Did Harry tell you about how he gave him his diploma?
You mean at Fifth Avenue?
At Fifth Avenue High School?
Yeah.
Did he tell you all about what your dad says to the teacher that he taught, the science teacher, that if he taught school instead of fooling around with the girls, they would all learn. So he was kicked out of the class, and he would. Did Harry tell you that?
Yeah, he did mention that. Yeah.
Oh, you didn't record it.
Yeah, I did.
That was at the end. You weren't recording it.
And how he gave him his diploma many years later.
Yeah.
Another thing, one time I was up in Ithaca, and Leah and I went to hear your dad lecture. That's when he started a class of teaching students, not medical students, but any.
Oh, home economics.
Well, the body. You were teaching the body.
Human structure and function.
What was it?
It was called human structure and function.
He started with 50 students, and the next semester he had to close it with about 270. He couldn't take it anymore. Well, we went up there to hear him, and the first thing all around us, the co-eds would say, when he came on the podium, co-eds would say, "Isn't he yummy?" You know, Leah and I looked at each other, and she said, "Wait till you listen to some of the talk they say." She used to sit there and listen to it. And then he couldn't get their attention, so he put his two fingers in his mouth and then whistled, and in a moment everybody was quiet. And then he went on and lectured. That's how he got his class's attention.
What was the lecture about? Do you remember?
No. So many years ago.
There was one lecture that was hilarious, because I was lecturing on blood. And there was that one gal there in about the 3rd row. She couldn't stand it, so she fainted. And so I ran up there and I took her, and I was telling, professors asked me what happened. I says, I brought her out into the hall. I laid her in the hall.
Do you remember stuff from your childhood at all? I mean, if you're only 5 years older, you must have memories of him when he was 10 or 12 or something like that.
Well, I know that Mark, when my dad had the cleaning place, he took the truck. He'd always get new customers. And one day, one evening, Leon and I were out for dinner with a couple from Aspinwall. He was the buyer of jewelry at Kaufman's department store. And we went up to the bedroom, and on the wall was a cleaning bag from East Liberty Dye Works. And I said, do you give your cleaning there? Oh, she says, the most remarkable young man came to call on me and ask to get a cleaning. You know who that was? Mers. And she says, we became acquainted, and he's going to amount to something someday. He's real brilliant. He told me he's working just till he gets to college, or working in college to make money to go to college.
To hear Harry tell the story, he was the one that everyone thought was so wonderful.
He was a lover boy. They wanted him to jump into bed with him. Harry was telling a story about when I was selling papers on the corner, 6th and Smithfield.
Oh, yes. I can't remember that. He was selling papers at 6th and Smithfield. And
yeah, the hairdresser.
Who was the girl? Who was the one
I think it was one that did your hair in gimbals.
I don't remember her name. Anyways, we went out together, and she said, no, it wasn't Gimbals. She said, I'm going down to the next corner to get a paper. I says, well, there's a paper right here. She said, oh no. She says, I go down. She says, there's a young fellow there that's going to be somebody someday. And she says, I'm going down there to get the paper. And all she was.
Here I am someday.
About the middle of the night, I'd be
75.
Everybody predicted he would be something. Well, you were. After all, look how far you went. There are not very many people getting.
Yeah, I had another one. A very nice lady on McPherson Boulevard, the corner, and she said to me, "You Jewish people work very hard and become somebody." She said, "I wish my son would work."
Well,
what about when you left home to go out and work?
Oh,
What was Dad doing then?
I was 15 and a half when I first. Well, I worked on Saturdays, and the car fare at that time was 5 cents. And Kate and I would walk down to Frank and Cedars, which was in Smithfield, and 5th, which was about a mile from our place.
What, 2 miles?
No, it was just a mile. That I know. And we didn't want to spend a nickel because we needed it.
And when you came home from work, what would Dad be doing?
Studying.
When he was 10 years old?
I'm 10 years old.
Well, when you were 15 and a half, he must have been about 10 or 11, right?
Yeah, 10 years old. I can't.
I did very well in grade school.
That's pretty dirty.
Listen,
I skipped a lot
I want
of
to
grades.
tell you something. You want to know about your dad. Wonderful story. You get Edith. She has a marvelous story to tell about her dad. See, they were closer. You know, they were growing up together. I was already out of the house.
Okay, now that he's 75 years old, what's your observations looking back over since you've known him for 75 years? What would you sum up? What are his qualities?
I have something to tell you. I just got on me. One time, your mother and your dad took a trip. We're going to fly to California. He was I guess you were lecturing.
Yeah.
And you and Johnny came to stay with us. And he told me that if something happens on the plane, that I inherit, and that I'm to continue rearing you two boys.
Boy, are you lucky nothing happened.
And in the, he told me where, someplace in the file, is all his insurance policies and all how and what he wants me to do to you and Johnny. And he says I should follow that. And boy, I'm telling you, I prayed to God that both of you would come back.
It was a lousy plane too, so you know, a prop. It was not a jet. It was a 4-engine propeller. It was rickety. American Airlines.
Okay, let me ask you this. On his 75th birthday, what do you think are his best qualities?
Best qualities is he's still the same Mark. It's just,
Same direct, huh?
no,
You mean he's not affected?
he's kind, he's considerate. And we still call him to ask his opinion for health reasons.
Mm-hmm.
He always gives it willingly. And he's the kind of a brother and a son that just never forgot his family, no matter how high he went. He always remembered his people back in Pittsburgh.
What would you say would be some of his less good qualities?
To be truthful with you, I don't know any less good qualities.
Jackie says I'm stubborn.
That's spoken like a real singer. The singers don't have any faults, right?
No, everybody has faults, but they're so minor, it doesn't matter.
I don't call
Well, what's
her
a minor fault? Give me an example of a minor fault.
Don't call her enough.
No, I know a terrible fault he has. When you call him on the phone, I could just about, he's ready to hang up when you're only talking to him 1 minute. He can't stay on the phone because I think he's watching television so much now that he doesn't want to miss it. So I give him help. He stays on there. That's the biggest fault that Mark has. Otherwise, he's still the same Mark. And we all love him. Okay.
You boys were so close together when?
They were so close together in age, so they'd all go into the same tub. That's Mark and Harry and Nat.
Friday night.
So every night you had to have a bath. Don't be silly. They were so dirty. And then we put nice starch suits on them, little pants.
Swansea shirt.
And we tell them to sit on the steps, Lombard Street, and don't you, Kate used to say, and don't
Kate
you,
used to go like this.
yeah, don't you dare move, or we're going to take your ear off, and you better be clean for dinner.
We were scared too.
They were scared to death of Kate.
Should I get, you think I should get Edie here to?
Oh, you get Edie.
Oh, here we are with Edie. Dad's,
the oldest of the last four.
Dad's older sister?
Oldest of the last four.
Oldest of the last four.
Four,
What
we
is
went in 4, 4, and 4.
The oldest of the last four. I see. You divided it into fours.
That's right.
Okay, so you're an older sister, right?
Oh, no, I'm not an older sister. He's old.
Okay.
I'm not old.
How much older than you
Well,
is
I'm
he?
I'm 71.
Okay, so he's 4 years older than
4
you.
years, and when we were growing up, there was an awful lot of years.
Uh-huh. That's right.
Now it doesn't seem like anything at all to us,
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say about Mark, my old brother, there were so many times in my life that I remember what he did for me. Let me go back a few years. First of all, I've had a never started to school till I was 11 years old because I had St. Vitus name.
So you didn't even start school till you were 11?
11. They wouldn't let me in school at that time.
Isn't that remarkable? What is St. Vitus dance?
Well, it's a form of it's from
Strep infection
strep.
of the motor centers of the brain.
Yeah.
And
Imagine
the heart.
that. And the heart. So I was what you would call a sick child. So when I started at school, of
It's
course.
called officially Sydenham's chorea.
Well, I'm sure they wouldn't know what you're talking about. I know.
Okay, so you didn't go to school till you were 11.
11, yes.
Uh-huh.
And then what happened was, when I started, when they finally let me in, of course I started at the first grade. And I went through school like somebody was chasing me. I went from one to another, you know. By the time I got out of school, I was Sylvia, who is younger than me. The two of us were in the same grade.
How much younger were you?
Well, Sylvia's like not quite 2 years younger than I am.
Uh-huh.
So we went to high school the same time. We got out of public school, you know, the first 9, to the 9th grade. Then we went to high school together.
Peabody, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, that's right. We went to Peabody together. Then, and the thing that I remember about Mark was when I was going to be, I was taking a short division, and the next step was long division at that time. So I came home crying because I was in long division. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So Mark says to me, "Don't worry." He says, "I'll show it to you one night." He says, "You'll get it, you know." And he sat down with me about 2 hours.
Let's see, how old were you then?
Let's see. If I started at 11, and I don't know when, I think it's about the 3rd or the 4th grade, you get a long division, somewhere around there. So I might have been about 11, 12, 13, maybe. But I went so fast from one grade to another, I can't even tell you when it was. Sometimes I jumped 2 grades in 1 year, or 3 grades, you see?
Uh-huh.
So when I finally did get to that particular point where they teach you first short division, I jumped into the next thing for long division. It was so fast. One of those, I probably jumped short division, and I was in long division. I didn't know what the hell they were talking about. So he sat down with me for 1 hour. I'll never forget it. My nose was red. I'd been crying all day. I'll never make the school, and so on and so forth. He sat down with me for 1 hour, and when he was finished with me, the next day I went back. I had it licked, you know.
Just in one day?
In one day, yes. And then another thing that I have to tell you about. That was one part of my story. The next thing that I remember about him is I used to love to read. I think that was my saving glory, you know, in life. I love books. But I started to read these, you know, get these true story magazines and romance magazines, you know, and I used to read them. One time he comes past me and he says, "What are you reading, Edie?" And I showed him. Oh, he says, "You don't want that dreck." He says, I'm going to show you some good literature." And one Saturday afternoon, he took me to the library. Do you remember that, Mark?
Yeah.
Took me to the library.
Wiley Avenue.
Yeah, on Wally Avenue. And he introduced me to Louisa A. Malcott, which was Little Women. You know, he says, you start at the age and you go all the way through and you'll read for the rest of your life. And it was true. I mean, I could bury myself in books like nobody can, you know. And that was when he showed me that you don't read this trash. This is dreck, he said. And don't you remember that, Mark? He said it was dreck. And he showed me the way to reading. good literature. And I'll never forget him for that, because it was such a wonderful, it was, being so confined to my life like I was, being sick so many years, And there was another thing, too, that I remember. Well, was it Harry that brought me home from Children's Hospital that time when Mom took me out of the hospital without discharging? And you had the truck or something.
Yeah.
Was it you and Harry came?
Yeah.
He and Harry came. My mother didn't like the idea of me being in the Children's Hospital. So they
Hey,
were...
Melvin.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good.
I want to get you for an interview.
All right, we'll get you. I gotta eat first.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't interview on an empty.
So he treated me, and my mother decided that she's not going to leave me in this dump, that's for sure. They weren't treating me right, and she took me out without the doctor's permission, and they called my mother an ignorant woman. And for years afterwards, well, let me tell you, I think it was Harry and Mark. We had one of these big trucks, from the cleaning place, like a van. So they pick us up. They came, and they picked us up, and we came. She brought me home, and about 2 or 3 years later, a social worker comes around and wants to know if Edith Singer is still living. So my mother took a broom to her because she was so angry with her. See, they were against her taking me out of the hospital.
Yeah, Harry was just talking about
So it was sad. But I'm 71 years old, I'm surviving, so must have something in us that is able to overcome all these different things that happen to you. So that's what I owe this wonderful brother.
Grandpa! Grandpa!
Great guy.
She was prone to cry. We all had nicknames, personal nicknames, and her name was Whiskey Nose.
Yeah.
Whiskey Nose, because her nose would get very red.
Oh, I had a fever in it for the rest of the day after I had a crying jag,
The whiskey
And
nose.
another thing is, he caught me. Were you the one that caught me when I was tearing the pictures out of the knowledge books?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a whole set of knowledge books.
Book of Knowledge.
Book of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
It was like what you call the
Encyclopedia.
At that time. It was very big. And I used to take them. I used to love pictures. And they find me tearing these pictures out of it was then the encyclopedia, and I thought Kate was going to kill me at that time. My sister, that was my older sister. So, there's a lot of things that happened to me that I remember that has to do with this guy. He's been really a wonderful brother, and I wish him a long, long, long life.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you, and you too. Okay?
Thank you.
That's my story. Okay?
Now that he's 75 years old, what would you say are his best points?
His best points?
Yeah.
Well,
He's Michigas Zeug.
no, he's very kind, and has always been, we've always looked up to him. He's been our shining one in the family. He's always been a great guy to be associated with. He's really been a great bud. And his generosity, too. He's very generous. And I'm sure he has been a really loving father and a great brother. That's all I can say. Is there anything else you want to know?
How about, what would you say would be some of his less fine points?
Less fine points?
Slumper.
See if the Singer theory holds true here.
His less fine points?
Singers cannot find faults with other singers. Let's see what happens.
I don't know. I really can't find anything wrong with him.
See what I tell you.
I'm a slumper,
Yeah.
Even Jackie
Oh,
said.
he's a little bit of a slop. You know, he doesn't take care of his clothes, and he always was that. We lived on the Baywood Street. They had the chute right in their room. They could throw their stockings down the chute, and used to have to crawl under the bed to find one stocking to another stocking. That's the way they were, all of them, except Harry. Harry was the only one that was neat and clean. You never had to pick up from him. But my other two brothers, the worst slops in the world. And this one, pretty much the same. Does it hold true?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but you know, I just remember that very slightly because I was like, it's only 4 years, but it seemed at that time he was so much older than me. You know, you get to a point in your life where you're both the same age. I mean, what's 4 years, huh?
Nothing.
You know, when you come to think of it. And I always thought of him as a much older brother, you know.
Huh.
So we've had a good life together.
Yeah,
And I hope we continue, right, Mark?
Yes, let's go on.
Yeah, okay, go ahead on. He wants to go on.
Hold on one sec now. Here we are with Irene, Papa's oldest living sister.
No, wait a minute.
No, next
Just
to
a
the
joke. Just a joke. How much older are you than Dad?
About 3.5 years older.
3.5 years older, so you're right in between him and Ann.
Yeah, that's right.
So you're pretty close. I mean, you're the two closest siblings
No,
of
Harry,
different sexes.
Harry's in between.
May I take my glasses off
Yes, that would be good.
and put my other glasses on
Yeah.
so I can see you better?
Yeah.
You know, after all, if I want to talk to you, you have to see my gorgeous eyes.
Okay, so you couldn't sleep last night, so you're thinking, how come nobody is being able to sleep? Dad can't sleep, and you can't sleep, and Ann
That's what
can't sleep.
happens when you get older. You just don't need that much sleep. That's the idea.
So while you were lying in bed last night and you couldn't sleep, you thought of some anecdotes. Is that right?
I thought of one in particular.
Okay.
I remember when Mark, well, he said he was 6 years old then, he had diphtheria. He had a very bad sore throat, and when the doctor came and said it was diphtheria, the most dreaded thing for us kids of those days was when the little black lady came to hang up the sheet. Do you remember her, Mark?
Yeah.
You were quarantined, and off
They quarantine the house.
What would they do? They'd hang up something?
They
They quarantine the house. No one's allowed in or out.
and
Who is it?
of course there was this hospital.
Is that you, Ben?
Municipal.
There was that's Mark.
Oh, no.
A municipal hospital. And when that ambulance came, I knew that I just couldn't take it. So of course you couldn't appreciate where we lived. I ran out of the house and ran down Dinwiddie Street, and I went all the way downtown because I couldn't stand to see him being taken away. I guess he must have been my favorite for some reason or other.
The diphtheria was a dreaded disease because you didn't know if you were going to survive it.
That's right. You
What
just sort of choked to death. Or
Did
something.
anyone from the family die of diphtheria? No, right?
Nobody even caught it with that whole gang in the house. Nobody got it.
Nobody got it from him, so he was the only one who had diphtheria in the whole family?
That's
Yeah.
right. The only one.
And I was choking to death
Ah,
when the doctor came. My mother said he can't breathe. And sure, he has diphtheria.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Okay.
I mean,
He said, get him right away to the hospital. The municipal hospital.
yeah. And once you went there, you saw nobody
You weren't permitted in or out.
in or out of the place.
who went there?
When Mark went there, nobody was allowed to see him. He was quarantined.
I see.
And then we were, the whole gang, had
And
to
the
stay in
the
house.
letters were quarantined.
What was quarantined?
The letters. They cut the corners off and fumigated the letters.
Fumigated what?
The letters.
You remember being in the hospital, Dad?
Oh yeah.
What was it like?
It was awful. The worst incident was they gave me dinner once, and then they gave me a bowl of ice cream dessert, and it slipped out of my hand onto the floor.
And they wouldn't give you another one.
And I called the nurse. The nurse took it away, cleaned up the floor, but they didn't, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting for another one, but they wouldn't give it to me.
Well, were you in a ward with many other children?
Oh yes, many children.
Yeah.
It was a diphtheria ward. It was filled with children. And every now and then they'd will out a dead one.
So there really was a...
It was awful. I know.
So what were you thinking when that happened?
Well, I was scared.
And you couldn't see your parents?
No.
Do you remember how long you were in there?
It must have been about 3 weeks.
Wow. That was really devastating. It was devastating to me because that's one of the times I remember when we were young.
That was typical of Irene. When there was a catastrophe, she'd run. For example, if a kid was choking at the table, she'd run into the bathroom and lock it.
Never help anybody.
Yeah.
That was right, Mark. That's
Yeah.
the way I was. That's why I ran out of the house. I didn't want to see him taken away.
And I remember being taken away. I was so embarrassed because there were kids all around looking.
You were 6 years old, is that right?
6 years old.
So what kind of fatality rate was there of diphtheria in those
Very
days?
high. It was something like 70% then.
70%?
Yeah.
So you were really lucky to
I was
survive.
very lucky.
How about a happy incident?
How about, let's finish this off. So you remember coming home?
Oh yeah.
Who took you home, Mark?
Well, they came and got me.
Who came and got you?
We didn't have an automobile.
No, my big sister. Of course, Polly and Kate.
You must have been very happy to see them.
Oh yeah. Because I was ambulatory by then. I was looking out the window and I can see kids playing on the street. It made me sad.
So what was it like? Do you remember? You remember when they took him away, but do you remember when he came back?
I don't remember that. Isn't that awful? I was thinking of that. I don't remember when he came home.
They were able to send me fruit. So every now and then I'd get a little basket of oranges and apples and goodies. Look at this man.
It's a gorgeous dog.
A cute dog.
But isn't that strange that I don't remember Mark?
What?
That I don't remember you coming home.
Yeah, and they gave me a special present for me. I came home, it was a little ambulance.
We bought you an ambulance?
Yeah, and of course Harry and that played with it and they broke it. Within a week it was no good.
Did you guys ever get into any fights?
Pretty good, didn't you?
We got along very well.
I think the three boys got along pretty well.
Yes.
How about you and Irene?
But we were always in cliques. No, the girls sort of stuck together.
We paired off and fought, or went together. Like it was Pauline, Kate together, then Ann and Irene, our buddies.
Yeah, and you know.
And then Harry and I, and that was the one left out.
The time that I really remember Mark. I don't remember an interval after that. Strange, you know, he didn't exist. I remember when we worked together at our father's store. It was Harry, he, and I. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
That was the time when
You worked the register.
I worked the register, and these guys.
There's nothing coming in, everything going out. And she played the numbers for my father, and she hit once every day in the week. Shivarti used to come in and touch her head for good luck.
I finally left. I was getting scared, you know. The store was going under, And we were living on what I was making. And everything went back into the pool, didn't it, Mark?
Yeah, and the money, and paid for gas and electric, remember?
Yeah.
And Pauline brought home her wages,
They're
and I brought home my profits in the papers.
yeah, kids don't react that way today, do they?
Because our mother, we had such a wonderful mother. And then Kate used to come home from teaching and wash the floors and take care of everything else and wash the windows, remember?
Yeah.
She was 10 years old sitting out in the windows washing.
But let's go back to the store. That's what I remember. Do you remember?
How old were you?
Huh? How old? I had just graduated from high school.
Uh-huh.
And there's no money for college. My father opened the store, so I was next in line to go work for him. Mark ran the truck. Remember all the business you brought
We got a
in?
Model A truck.
He'd bring it, and then we hired this guy. That's right.
Yeah.
The guy you
We called Schmutz.
Schmutz.
Schmutz? He was a southerner.
Yeah. What did he do? He had
He
some
had-
kind of gimmick.
The gimmick where a book of tickets you sell for $1.25, and it had about $10 worth of cleaning in it. And the customers could tear off so much, 25%. Every time you delivered clothes to them, and they'd get 25% off. So we were losing on it all the time.
And then he'd take you out for lunch. He'd bring a jar of pickles with him. You
Yeah.
remember that?
Oh, yeah.
What a character he was. But we had, we had nothing. We had a lot of fun. Didn't we?
Yeah. He was running around with car seats and everything. And he died of gonorrheal rheumatism. Remember, he used to sew some money into his lining, then he couldn't find it. So he tore his coat, his jacket apart. He says, I had $20 there. And he couldn't find it.
He apparently just walked into the store, didn't he?
Yeah, and he sold us a bill of goods. He says, I have something that'll make you rich. And we listened to him. Puffy was easy. He was taking it easily.
Oh well, those were some days.
Oh yeah, they were good days.
But you know what I don't remember, Mark?
What?
I'm trying to figure out. I know I left the store and I got married. You remember that?
Yeah.
What happened to you?
Well,
Did you stay on?
I stayed on. And who helped out? Rhoda came in and helped out.
No, it was Edie that came in.
Edie that came in and helped out. I stayed on until
You went to Pitt.
until I decided to go to college. And they were sure I wouldn't make it because they didn't have money. And they didn't have a dime to give to me.
When did you get married, Irene?
When did I get married?
Yeah.
It was Depression time, I know.
How old were you?
I was about 21.
Uh-huh.
21 or 22.
So Dad was about 19 or
Was
so?
that?
Yeah.
Dad was about 19 or 18?
Yeah, something like that.
I started to college when I was 20.
20. Well, didn't you have your own money that you had saved up? You had an
Well,
insurance policy.
I had one of these insurance policies where you pay like 20 cents a week with the Metropolitan line. And then it built up, and I cashed it in for the down deposit.
That's all you ever paid to?
Yeah, it was $100 I gave. They says, you got to give us $300. I says, well, I'll give it to you next summer when I work.
They let you come in?
They let me come in. And then by the next summer, I got a scholarship from Rudolph Shalom Temple, remember?
Yeah.
And also a part scholarship from Pitt. It was deferred payment. I never paid them. I figured, goodness.
They lost on you.
They lost money on it.
Yeah, I thought you got all your scholarships from Pitt.
No, Rhoda Film Temple gave me more. They gave me some. By the end, it was something like $400 or $500, and I paid it off. Remember when?
Yeah, I know.
When Jean was still living,
Yeah.
she was working in the office.
And they made
And I
you,
sent them in a check.
and
Thank you.
the remark was in the office that, you know, most of the students they helped never paid back. And the remark was, here's one that's paid back. And of course, Jean was very proud. She said, that was my nephew. Paid his money back.
When Irene got married, did you feel jealous?
Me?
Yeah.
I didn't feel jealous.
Why would he have to feel jealous?
Well, I just thought that maybe you were very close.
Well, we were.
We were close.
We were close in that way, but I don't know.
She was the belle of the family, the beauty of the family.
Beauty.
And she had the boyfriend. And I cannot say that I was tickled that she married Leo, because she was going with a guy named Manny, was his name?
Yeah.
And he was real nice.
You liked him better.
I liked him better.
He was a CMU student.
Yeah.
Did you tell her that you liked him better? Or did you try not to interfere?
I didn't interfere. It wasn't my business. Her business.
Well,
She was always a good sister. She worked, she brought money home. Remember in Christmas time you used to work at the Harris department store?
yeah, we all did.
I
Didn't
remember
we all?
you were wrapping packages. She came home one day, her finger was bleeding because the cord cut your finger. You remember that?
Yeah, they finally taught me how to break the cord the right way, the
Yeah.
Boy
You got like-
Scout way, the Boy Scout way.
Ended up.
Yeah, well, we all worked. Whatever we made came into the pot. The
That same
complete
Christmas,
pot.
I had made $24 in tips from customers in my corner. I would say, Merry Christmas. And they'd say, keep the change, kid. Some of them had dollars ready for me.
How about the Chinaman that was so sorry I left his cleaning place?
Yeah, there
Do
was
you want to know why he calls me Emily?
there was a Chinese guy, had a little laundry around the corner, was still in love with Irene. And he couldn't say Irene, he called her Emmeline.
That's where that name comes from.
Huh.
You know,
Call her Emmeline.
when he brands somebody with a name, that's it. Did you get Ann here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did she tell the story about you when you were going out with this gal, you know, that you were so... We lived on Lombard Street and you came in so late, you didn't have any keys, and you crawled into the, you know,
Off the little porch.
that,
There was a sidewalk along the house. Not a sidewalk, but a suspended bridge like to a porch. And I went up there and I put my foot on the picket fence and then got onto the roof and opened the window of the second floor.
who was there, Ann?
No, Pop came.
I scared the hell out of
He almost fainted.
They didn't tell that story? That's the best story. He was a wild one, you know.
In that sense.
How was he a wild one?
Well, he must have been very sweet on this gal. What was her name?
Mickey Stein.
Mickey Stein. He told me that. He'd come in 3, 4 in the morning. He should have slept there instead of coming home 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
What did you do with her dad till 4 in the morning?
Well, she lived out in New Kensington, and I drove a truck out, and I came back, and it was winter. She wanted me to sleep over, but I decided last minute I'm going back. And so I started back, it was snowing lightly. And I got on the highway, the major highway, and I couldn't see much. Suddenly I see these 2 little lights in front of me, and it was a Mack truck. And I swung hard, but he hit me in the side,
Remember the car was wrecked in the back?
Tell me, what did Pop say to you? That's the punchline.
I said, ach, hilarisch, ach, een wezen. The mix for Rubendag levenslijke wees. You might as well bury yourself alive. Ach, een wezen, it means...
Woes to you.
Yeah, like that.
Woes to
ach,
you.
een wezen.
Sounds better in Yiddish. Oh dear.
Where did you meet this Mickey Stein?
We were in school together. She was 2 years older than I. We graduated, presumably graduated together, if I had.
I'm gonna get more food. I will be right
She lived in New Kensington, but she had a sister in Pittsburgh. So she stayed with her sister in order to go to a good high school, Fifth Avenue High, where she could meet a lot of Jewish boys.
So what happened?
What?
What happened?
What happened?
What'd you ditch her for?
Well, first I ditched her for Goldie Goldberg. Remember Goldie G. Goldberg, who lives in Greensburg.
Goldie Goldberg.
Was she mad when you ditched her?
Oh yeah. She kept on coming to the store. And then I ditched the Goldie for your mother.
Uh-huh.
And Goldie used to call me, beg me every night. And later on she married a dentist, Greenberger, you know.
I didn't know Goldie Goldberg. Was she pretty?
A very beautiful gal. Still is. You met her at the last reunion.
Which reunion?
My class. You went with me?
Did I go with you?
Yeah, Harry was there too.
That's right. Gee whiz. Some more things I don't remember.
The last couple of minutes here, I want to ask you, on his 75th birthday, what you would say would be his finest points.
The finest.
Yeah.
Well, I know. I always got along with him, and always admired him. But I don't know why. When I did that, admired him, I was so young. I can't tell you why I liked him.
Well, looking at, now that you've known him for 75 years, what would you say would be his, when you think of him, what would you say would be his best points?
Well, he was always very kind to the family. Very kind. Anybody that had any problems, he was right there. There were a lot of problems. Helped them anyway. Mostly health problems. Steered them in the right direction. That's one of his finest points.
How about his not so fine points?
Not so fine. Well, I'll tell you, when we were growing up, and he wouldn't eat chicken on Friday night, you know. And Mom, of course, do you remember? She had a steak, not steak that you know of.
A veal steak.
She had a veal steak, and it was sauteed in onions, and it smelled so good. He was the only one that got that, because he wouldn't eat chicken.
Sort of got special treatment?
And we didn't like that, because he got special treatment. Do you remember that, Mom?
Oh yeah, very well. Chicken tasted like dross to me.
He just didn't like chicken and wouldn't eat anything. Well, he is a very strong-willed guy. You should know that.
Stubborn, you mean?
Stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, as you were growing up.
Yeah.
Didn't you notice that trait?
Yeah.
He believed in what he believed in. That was it. You couldn't sway him. Can they sway you now?
I'm swayable.
You're swayable now.
Except Jackie calls me a donkey.
A donkey.
Stubborn as a donkey. And I call her a goat.
So that's your father. Okay, but he's a great guy.
Okay.
I'm sure he's liked by a lot of people. And in Philadelphia, you know, her subjects were all in the scientific field.
when she'd find a book or a class lesson, whatever they were using, and it said Dr. Mark Singer, she'd go wild in the class. Half of them didn't believe her, you know. They thought, you know, how they say, oh, well, he's my uncle or he's my cousin or something. And so, you know, she really, really did a lot of studying out of your work. She'd call you a couple times. You get so excited.
I think it's very
I think that's wonderful.
And the worst thing, and my older sisters were telling me when it was taken, they were so angry at me because I was peeing on their shoes. In the back, you can see the expression on their face.
She's the baby.
Which one? Point to her.
This one right here.
Oh.
Yeah. And my two older sisters, that's Pauline and Kay, were standing in the back.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you know, they're taking a picture, they have to look right. And you could see the expression on Pauline's face. Pauline says to me she could have killed me. Timmy came in. She does the most beautiful silver. Who's there? Timmy, Rhoda's daughter.
Hi.
Sorry.
I have progressed since I've seen you live.
Yeah, I think it's here too.
I can actually make steps.
Everyone here that no
That was really good. I was worried I didn't get here. I wouldn't get here.
Pam?
Is
that
Yeah, she
came.
I thought they weren't going to come.
No, they
got to make this big one.
earlier.
Greg?
Hi. So surprised when I saw you here. Did you know?
Oh.
Hi, Irene. I'm
Yeah.
glad to see you.
Well, I'm here.
Wonderful,
Yeah. You really progressed. You really progressed on this. It's a marvelous.
Herb, you want to go help him?
How you doing? Looks like you're getting tall.
Yeah, pretty tall.
Michael, go help your dad.
Tell him to take your stilts off.
Hey, Grandma!
Is there a grandchild here? Yes, there is. Dressed up in pink? Absolutely. So nobody should mistake her? Come here.
No, I got
Yes,
All right.
Let me take a picture of the grandma.
Do I do this? Oh, too late.
Wait a minute.
You have to get her out of here.
Hi, Beth.
How are you? The mother?
There she is.
Can I have a kiss? Stop for kisses? How are you? Stop for kisses.
The loveliest grandmother in the world. Look at that.
That's sweet. You know what? I don't know if we have that one cake, the little loaf. We'll have to get Dad to get it. I don't know.
Sorry I took two.
Oh, that's okay, Dad.
Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter, look at me.
You're going to get kissed to death. Look how nice she holds her head up.
How was it ride? A lot of
Hey, Peter.
Would you want some?
Hi.
She's looking at
How
me.
are you? Look who, I didn't recognize you. He's so tall. Wow. Oh, handsome. Gorgeous. How are you? I'm Aunt Edie. You know me, don't you?
Sure, I used to take care of your mother when she had the measles.
I already told them 100 times.
I was telling him this story.
I just told somebody this just the other day about my measles.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Boy, is he big. Wow. Hi, how are you? Look, she wants to crawl. Look at I know she does. She's so good to see you. And a shaker, aren't you?
Well, yeah, we
Maybe
surprised
we
everybody.
surprised
Leave it out.
Hi, Mike.
How does it feel to be a grandma? Great. You can play with another baby.
You see what happens
Those
when
aren't
a
mine.
baby
I didn't make them.
gets excited? Everybody gets excited. Wouldn't you like to have a little girl?
No, I wouldn't mind having one, but
Let me see
having
this
one,
little
I wouldn't
baby.
mind having it.
Did you hear?
Being
Wouldn't
pregnant.
you like to have a little girl?
If it was 3 years old to start.
Isn't that a cute little baby? If you were guaranteed a girl, would you have one?
Yeah, I know, but I don't think we need
Not even that guaranteed.
No.
Okay, she doesn't need
I wouldn't.
Yeah,
Hi. See, you're here. I'm surprised. What a nice surprise. Everything's wonderful.
Now,
how'd you come?
Fine, this is
Hi. Hi. This is my great-great. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
This is my great-great niece. This is Beth's baby.
You're kidding.
No.
Hi, Beth's baby.
I think you got one extra grade in there.
Remember all these names at the end of the day.
No, great-great.
How many months? 4 months, Rhoda?
Beth is my great. Lean is my niece.
I see. Yeah, could be your right.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
This is my daughter.
How old
I
is
want
she?
you to go
2 months.
2 months.
Look at that.
What? 2 months.
You want to hold her? Right, you want to hold her.
Remember Kathy?
Yes.
Hi. What is your name? If you were guaranteed a girl to have one, she's the...
What are you doing? Why me?
Because you're part of the family.
But there's so many other nicer looking people. The young people.
It's got a picture of me eating, huh?
What else? What else can you do at a Singer picnic?
Right, except the
Years ago.
What was the name you are still?
Transferring of funds, they never transferred. They never
You got a good
paid cash, but
vacation,
They
didn't
brought the brothers, the 2 brothers, took stock in it.
I don't know if that's my good side, Rob.
You were a cookie monster?
What was the name of that? What was the name of that?
Hey, Peter, come here. Come here, talk to me. Tell me about the haunted house, Peter.
She wanted to stay and so she had a nice job.
Unless the whole streets of people. The mayor would hire somebody to police the areas, that's all.
You know, you can't hire that many people.
Well,
You really can't. I mean, you have to have one-on-one, really.
She's back in school. She's back in
our
They are offering a program.
Of dogs.
They picked 60 students. They take classes for being and they take courses for and some of them go on
Such
to
a
the
pretty
2 years.
area.
Yeah.
We really enjoyed living there.
Yeah, I love where we live now. I really do. Well, what I find about Conneautville, it's so clean.
Go out
And I feel very
go
safe.
to New York.
Right. People I think, are nice as far as when you go shopping, they don't, you know,
$25 bill is
like in the city,
Yeah.
you know, and you really, they're courteous.
Yes, I find that is a different class of people out there.
I know when I go from Fourth Avenue, I feel sort of funny when I
Walk up there.
Yeah, I really do.
I didn't know.
I hate to do so. But you know, you pretend like you don't know, you do know, and it's very,
Yeah, yeah. And then we're gonna go to Newport Beach. Newport, Rhode Island, I mean. Then down to the Cape.
Well, wow. You'll pass Harry's place.
We're staying with Harry for 2 or 3 nights.
Oh, boy. And we're down at the...
Down at the Cape.
Isn't that wonderful?
And then we're driving back and spending the day with Annie and sleeping over. And then we have an 8 o'clock and we'll get up. What? She's with me.
There's one at Andover. Yeah, we've been down there. When we stay up on the weekends, like in the summer or fall, why we go up there.
Dear Lorraine.
I don't know. On the way to Cleveland or Youngstown.
Long way, sure.
And they'll all be taller than me.
Like 322 or whatever.
I'm very short.
Real big one, right?
How old is he?
Yeah, but they have a couple of big ones down at Canfield and the fairgrounds and that are real nice.
Because
I've been down to some of them.
How old is Aaron?
I eat them.
9?
You know, he's like,
I didn't know.
Aaron is bigger than the...
Wow, I'm on camera.
The other, I don't know where the other kid is. He's not here.
That light gets me nervous.
Where Adam is.
Yes, when I was a baby.
He's right.
Your mommy's gonna have a birthday.
Think he's flipping or what?
Your mommy's
You
gonna have a
think he's slipping a
birthday.
little bit?
He runs hard.
That's what he does.
Hey, look at
Good at it.
look at Rob. Rob. Hey,
What a
since
beautiful face.
How come?
That's what he wants you to, that's what he wants you to do when he takes a picture of you. He doesn't like it when you're just a regular kid. He likes, stick your tongue out. That'll work. Stick your tongue out. That's what he likes
Peter
to
can
see.
catch flies with that tongue.
How come he's doing that now?
I don't know.
You don't have to go through that kind of a... I forgot to tell you a story.
That spider over
what
there.
was it?
When your dad moved, when we moved to Elmira,
The big one over
and your
there.
dad, you guys lived in
Brown
Ithaca,
recluse and one black widow.
and your dad would come down in the greatest
I
storms,
remember
ice, snow,
Shandover.
just to bring everybody ice cream.
Who did?
Believe that?
Who did?
Ray
Mom.
knows where they are.
When we first moved to Elmira,
I remember
He knows where all
coming
the
to
flea
visit you.
markets are.
It was so pretty there.
He was in Pittsburgh.
It was
he was
really
so
pretty
adorable,
there.
huh?
Still go to his
Why?
The only thing you do is get a
Why?
rifle with a shotgun.
That's my nice
Get a
nephew.
rifle with a
What's not?
This
Early
guy
on
here.
when they come out to eat.
And he was a little boy when I...
My daughter and I went cross country last year
I like people.
with 2 dogs.
You're going to be on a video. That's what
That's
that
a
is.
video
That's
that
not
you
even
watch
a
on
camera.
TV.
Stop.
You're going to be on.
You're on a movie.
You're going to be on
I was stopped
TV.
at this one
He's
You
not
watch-
looking at
You
He's
watch.
not looking at you. Hey, you don't have to make those faces anymore. He's
He's looking at me.
and the dogs.
He's not
settled
taking one of
down.
you. He's not going to anymore.
Peter, you watch TV tonight. You'll see yourself on the
They
news.
went absolutely wild. We could
Yeah.
barely hold
With your tongue hanging
Boy
out.
with tongue.
one of them,
Longest tongue in the world.
swear, she
I
was
never saw
halfway
such a
in.
long
He does
tongue.
have a really long one.
Oh my.
That's Sophie the dog. Male? Female? Yes, she's a female.
Uh-huh.
Look who's here.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mort.
Am I too close to you?
Nope, here he
All right,
is.
got to put it on film, immortalize.
Well, she looks as beautiful as ever.
Well, she is. She is. Good-looking people.
No, they weren't.
Yeah,
They weren't. Please
How's your
don't
bride?
tell me
she's fine.
Where'd you come from?
Okay,
Europe?
smile.
You grew up from Europe? How are you?
Hey. Hey. Hey, you look so good.
Smile.
You look great.
Oh, hey.
Hi.
How you doing?
How are you?
I know, it's been years.
Okay,
Did you travel from Europe too?
Oregon, Washington.
You were
No,
at
no
Pittsburgh?
man's land.
Did you take it?
No, I can't.
Bang.
Hell no. Okay.
wanna
Oh,
stand
that's
forever.
cute. Oh, here he is, the belly.
Hi, Robbie.
Jeez almighty.
That's all he doesn't even talk to you. He just walks around with the camera.
Look at Sophie's
I'm gonna go
dying
get my
under
wife.
there.
Yeah, she's
so
very
hot.
hot. She wants to go in the house.
Oh my God, Rob.
What?
Oh, they're stunning. Hey, how are you, Barb? Barbara wants to see
I know.
earrings,
What-
Tammy. There aren't. I need some food.
Because,
I need some food because I'm fucking starved, right?
Jill, what do you think of that?
I think she should go find a lean. All I want to know is, did they inhale it, or is there anything left from there?
There's some dregs left.
Wait, Mommy, can you just finish this one part of the story? When I finally asked Uncle Herbie, just as we were leaving the apartment, I said to him, Robbie, get that thing out of my face. when
a video.
Finally... Really? Oh, he has a video camera.
I know. No, not real. He rented it.
She wakes up.
No.
Let me say hi. Let me say hi.
What happened? What happened? Let me get in on this one. From
Oh,
Herbie.
Francis,
and
you're
I'm
so
working
cute
with
when you
Natalie.
hobble.
Huh?
You're so cute when you hobble.
Hi, Jill.
Hello.
I haven't seen you in a long time.
Do you mind coming in? This poor girl needs some food. I'm telling you.
Every minute spent out here means, you know, another
less
pound
food
of
in
food
there.
is gone.
Well, what did you do?
Why?
You look great.
Thanks.
You've been working hard this summer. You look so strong.
No. Same as always. Sophie, where are you?
Robbie.
Yes, what is it?
So where'd you live? Where'd you get lost?
You hold another one.
I heard you got this fiddling. Is that right?
I was stopping. I
was gonna hold on today. Hi, Uncle Mark.
Thank you, old gal.
How you doing?
Did you say a toe down, Francis?
My friend Callie.
Hi, Callie.
Hello. It's my Uncle Mark. The source of it all. It's his place. It's his party. And that's him.
What are you wearing
It's
San
the,
Francisco
it's the fan,
on for?
fan pin.
What's that?
So how does it feel to be a grandparent? How about you, Jack?
It's fantastic.
It's fantastic because someone else is taking care of the kids, actually.
It's so nice when she takes her
You don't see him reaching out his hand. Hey, how are you?
after 6 months.
They say being a grandparent is all the benefits and none of the liabilities, right?
Well, I don't think so. I'll share it with someone.
I definitely.
I like his face. I think if you go around here.
Let me see your earrings again.
Is that what you just bought?
Yeah, aren't they beautiful?
You see Pam's.
Pam's are really different.
Pam's are gorgeous.
Yeah.
Where is she showing this other stuff?
Maybe.
Is Ben gonna come down and take pictures of you with
Well,
the camera?
as I wanted him to.
He said he will.
And let your aunt.
How about taking a picture of you two?
Well, that's what I was going to have Ben do. Let me just do Papa and Melvin, and then he could do that.
What did they do? They got that. Well, Maria's, now she's 13. She's a wonderful little girl.
Oh, well, 13.
13? No, they got her when she was 4. Well, even so.
Annie wants a baby that's just
An infant.
An infant.
But it's sometimes more work when the children are 4 and 3 years old, when they're older.
That's right.
This child was abandoned in the field.
Well,
Oh,
now, you're talking about something else.
Yeah.
When you talk about an abandoned child, you're playing around with, and there's nothing wrong with
Right.
the idea.
But it's
You're talking about
There's no
a
earrings.
child who
They took
is brought to you without a history of medical care, nutrition.
There's one pair right here.
Now, you know, there's nothing. There are people who
While I was gone, I sold quite a few pairs,
willing
and I haven't had a
throw
chance
all
to
these
make it.
concerns aside.
I was
Now, here we have Melvin, Papa's younger brother. Youngest brother. Isn't he your younger? There's no one who's younger than you except Melvin, right?
Right now, living, yeah. Nat was younger.
Yeah. So how much younger are you, Melvin, than Dad?
Well, I'm 10 years younger than Harry, exactly.
So you're about 8 years younger.
Yeah. Well, I'll be 67, and he's just 75.
Yeah.
So that's,
You need a cash register to get the results.
yeah, you need a calculator.
Yeah.
Didn't I, so when we lived on Baywood Street, didn't we have the same bedroom, or was it on the 3rd floor? There were 4 of us left there.
Yeah, but I shared the bedroom with Harry.
And
You
I
shared one with Nat.
Now, I couldn't remember who I shared it with. I thought I shared it
You
with...
had the back bedroom.
Because I used to, no matter, like in the middle of the night, if I'd get up, you'd be studying. I remember I'd look in there and you'd be at the desk studying. That one with the roll, you had the roll top desk?
Yeah.
Whatever happened
I
to
bought it for $2, and I gave it to Abe Loeb when he went to college. He never returned it.
I see him every once in a while. I'm gonna ask him about it, okay?
Yeah.
It's probably worth about $3,000-4,000 a day.
But it's extraordinary.
It's an accident.
It had
It was a big one too.
It had little hidden pockets.
Yeah.
It was pretty big. It had a curved chair.
See, I remember I had more to do with Harry.
With Nat, I think.
No, with Harry, because when I was going to high school, Harry started substituting, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I used to bring the truck down after school, and he used to meet me after school, and we used to go pick up cleaning, you know. That was all the customers that he got. Now he's the one that built up the Roth. Didn't you? You built up the Roth, the dry
Yeah,
cleaner.
I used to knock door to door. Sometimes I'd hit a place where they had called Crandall McKenzie, but the maid was there, and by mistake she gave it to me. My woman was frantic, and she was so happy when I brought back her dress and charged her double.
He used to get not the poor people. He used to get all the well-to-do people around the Pittsburgh area. We got a rotten Mount Lebanon.
Had one tie to give me, one necktie. I had to drive all the way out there for one necktie. He wanted to know when I'd give it back, deliver it. Look at this human being. Sophie. Hey, Sophie. Hawk is liable to get you.
I remember before I went to the Army, I made a trip to Boston. You were at Harvard, right?
Yeah.
And was Harry married then? Or or was he going with Molly?
I think he was going with Molly or somebody else.
Because I slept in her mother's house. It was one of those stone houses, you know.
Big old
stone houses, but they were all a bunch of them hitched together, you know, like row houses. I remember that one.
It was a brick house. It was right in there, back of where Jack Kennedy grew up. They were on Commonwealth Avenue, and Kennedy was on Beale Street, just behind it.
What about the bicycle?
Bicycle? Oh, I never had a bicycle in my life. How old could I have been at the time? 10 years old?
Something like that.
You know, he came on with his blue bike.
Where'd you get the bike, Dad?
Probably bought it for a couple bucks.
Yeah. Second-hand bike. It was rickety.
But it worked.
Yeah, it worked. You had to fix it, straighten out the spokes a little bit.
Why did you bring it home?
I felt sorry for this bicycle.
All my friends had bikes. I had no bike.
So were you thinking of Melvin when you bought this bike?
Of course.
Mm-hmm. And
that was on Bayward Street already.
Yeah.
How old were you when you got it? About 18 or something like that?
Yeah.
He was going to. Were you still working on the truck?
Yeah.
He must have been more 17, 18 years old. I was probably about 9 or 10.
Mm-hmm. And the handlebars fell off?
Well, I used to go, you had to stand up the pump. It wasn't no bike, it had the gears and stuff like that. Just a plain, ordinary bike. And you'd have to, how you stand up to pump, and when I stand up to pump, the handlebar would come out of the socket there.
Did you get hurt? Did you fall down?
No. Stopped the bike and put it.
Was that the bike you were riding, Dad, that you went down like neck?
No, that was a different one. We lived on Lombard Street. I was going down to Woody Street, lickety split, and the handlebars came off. I didn't know what the hell to do, so I crashed.
There's probably a screw in there. There's a set screw there that tightens the handlebars. You can make adjustments. And it probably either wasn't in there or it didn't work.
Puppy was bad. He said, "What the hell do you need a bicycle for? Read a book."
You remember when he wouldn't let us whistle in the house?
Yeah.
He used to say, "Pfeif nicht." It's bad luck to whistle in the house.
Uh-huh. What do you remember? What are some of your first recollections of Dad?
There were so many of them. When I looked at all these kids around the house, there were 11 of us, and I was next to the youngest. The only thing I remembered, I was scared of my older sisters. They're the ones that actually raised me.
Mm-hmm. They were tough.
All right, Kate.
They were tough. Kate
and Pauline,
Pauline was gentle, but Kate was tough.
Oh, she was tough. With Pauline, but I remember Pauline was always bringing me home shoes. She worked in coffins.
No.
Hey, Sophie, you're a girl.
Behave yourself.
She's doing it, Toby.
What's the,
Go on.
what do you remember? What are some things that you remember most strongly?
Mark?
Now let's see, Rhoda was younger than you, right?
Yeah.
And then you were the second youngest. Third youngest was Nat?
No. Sylvia.
Sylvia.
Then
Right.
Edith,
Sylvia,
then Nat.
Then that.
Sylvia, then Edith,
Then that.
then Nat. And then Nat and you and Harry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then Irene, Ann, Kate, Pauline.
Uh-huh.
We did. We sent him to school.
So you were pretty young when a lot of this stuff was going on that they talk about, right?
Hey?
Melvin.
Yeah, they were I was playing around, it was kids,
So Dad, when you were working in the store and you and Harry were driving the truck,
Yeah.
where was Melvin at that point?
I was
He
a
was
kid.
in school.
I was like your 10-year-old kid, 9-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid.
So you don't remember that particular period that much?
No, not really.
He got treated very well, so did Rhoda.
Yeah, we probably had it the best,
I remember you on a pony. A guy came up on Lombard Street.
I got the picture, me and Rhoda on a pony.
Yeah, and for 10 cents he'd give you a little ride. They just sat you on the pony and walked you around a little bit, and that was a ride.
So
And he was very blonde.
A lot of hair.
A lot of hair blonde.
were you but you went to work in the store then when you got old enough, right?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I started after school.
How old were you then?
Well, I got my driver's license when I was 15.
Uh-huh.
Because I couldn't wait, because Harry had graduated school. He was, I guess were you at Pitt at the time, or were you at Harvard then? No, you must have been, no, he was at Pitt. And we needed someone we hired someone to drive the truck, and it didn't work out, or we couldn't afford him. And Harry took me down, I got my driver's. I was driving when I was 14 years old.
I was 14 also when I got my license. I told a lie, I said I was 16. If I ever try to get a license now in Pennsylvania, and they look back on it, they'll put me in jail.
I said 15. And I was a smart guy, see. I flunked the first time. What I failed was the questionnaire, because I figured I knew everything. They took me out to driving first. I don't know how they do it now. They take you for a little ride.
Generally,
Put 100% down. Then he started asking me questions. He took 10% off, another 10% off. Got down about 60%. He threw the book at me. He says, "Go home and study and come back." And Harry, when I told Harry that I didn't pass, he hit me over the back of the head. He was so mad because we needed a driver, and he was substituting. He got a lot of substitutions. He's practically working all the time. What's his name? The judge.
His Honor.
His Honorable.
His Honorable, my father called him. Judge Knox was a friend of my father, and Pop used to make him suits for nothing, So he got Kate a job. He got Harry a job in the school system.
But by the time Melvin was working, you were, what, in college, Dad?
Yeah.
So Rhoda remembers that Dad used to come downstairs and tell everybody to shut up, that he was trying to study. Do you remember that, Melvin?
Well, I remember he used to have fights with the girls. He used to be in the living room playing music, Beethoven and so forth,
Orthophonic, yeah.
Yeah, and they used to get mad. They wanted to clean up. They wanted to clean the living room or something like that, and they wanted to chase you out, and you said, clean it later or something like that. You remember? I remember that.
Kate used to say, "Oh, kids, oh."
Yeah.
Hey, Mommy, throw them out of here.
That I never saw. You know that?
I thought he used to take you on his truck.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what happened one time. was a Saturday. And Dad used to have to work half day Saturday picking up cleaning from these wholesale departments, from these tailor shops, specials. And what he used to do on Saturday, I was only 14 years old. I used to drive the truck. I'd pull up to the shop, deliver him the stuff, get in, and he'd be sleeping on the dirty clothes in the back of the car, back of the truck. And we pull up to a red light, and who comes right next to us is my uncle who owned the cleaning plant. And he saw me driving, and he knew I was only 14 years old. Joe Gerson, I don't know if I can't remember whether he said anything or not. Probably. Maybe not.
Probably told Mom. Then they went out on strike, and Nat went out on strike against his uncle. And Joe Gerson was so mad he called my mother up. My own nephew was striking against me.
Well, how about the old man was living in the house at the time?
Yeah.
Our grandfather.
That lady that's on the board, on the picture in there.
Boy, did he jump on, I don't know about Nat or my mother anyway.
And they used to call him the old fox. Because he was very sharp.
And very distinguished looking.
Yeah. What he said went.
So, Melvin, when you started working in the store, you were 15, you said.
Yeah, 14.
14 or 15.
Yeah.
So Dad at that point was about 23.
Were you up in Harvard already?
No, I was in Pitt.
Pitt, still Pitt.
I graduated when I was 24.
Now I remember you taking me down to you worked in the labs or something down there?
Yeah.
And you were showing me the different, I remember you showed me you were showing me the Japanese salamanders, and I remember you put a piece of raw meat in there, and they start just biting anything. They'd bite they'd bite a leg off, they smelled the meat, and they would start
just biting.
Biting, And you says, that'll grow another one. Is that when you started your first love for
Yeah,
newts?
when I was an undergraduate.
Yeah.
There was a professor, H.H. Cullen. And at that time they had the National Youth Administration that Roosevelt had set up to keep kids in college. And they gave money to the universities so that the professors could hire kids to help them at 35 cents an hour. And that's all I needed. Not for tuition, but
for spending money.
For lunches, for books.
Now you went away in 38. So
Yeah.
you were 24 when you went away to Harvard.
Yeah.
That meant you left home when Melvin was about 16 or 17, 18 maybe.
The next time I see him, he's in the Air Force.
Okay, so do you remember Dad going away when you were about 17, 16?
Yeah, I sort of remember when he got.
I think you went down to the bus station with Paul.
Yeah.
My father was just floating around the bus.
Didn't I send you when I was in the service? We had to send. I used to.
That was in 38, and then when did you join the service?
Oh, I didn't get in until about the 42, 43, right after the war started.
But you came home in between, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what happened was I spent about a year overseas, and I did my missions. They took our whole outfit.
56 missions.
Yeah, and they shipped us back to the States, and then they were retraining us to go to Okinawa. But they asked for volunteers, and of course I didn't volunteer.
And then you sold me your suitcase, remember? For $12.
I did. I don't remember that.
Yeah, that collapsible bag you had.
Oh, yeah?
For $12.
Did you ever pay me for it?
I paid you right away.
Right away, okay.
You were broke.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, you stopped in Boston, remember?
Yeah. Well, when I landed overseas, I landed in Boston.
Yeah.
And we came back from Italy on a ship, you know, and we landed in Boston.
But Dad, after you went away to grad school, did you come home to visit at all?
Oh yes, I came home on every holiday, at least 4 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Always did that.
Do you remember him coming home at all, Melvin?
And I always remember them talking about Woods Hole. That's all I heard was Woods Hole, Woods Hole, Woods Hole. I always wanted to go to Woods Hole. Until after I got married and we made a visit to New England, I was there a couple times.
I'm looking at you and I really see me.
In the Cape, you know.
I won a fellowship as an undergraduate, a senior, to Woods Hole.
Mm-hmm.
$1,000. And I worked in the mess there, serving up dog's vomit on toast. It was terrible, chef.
Chip beef.
Yeah. You called it that in the service?
Shit on a shingle. They put on a piece of toast. Looked like at what they serve now. You go in some restaurants, they call it sausage gravy.
We called it dog vomit on a toast.
Army food.
What sort of worried me after a while I was in the Army, I actually got to like it.
You went in the Army, so you weren't really, no, you were only about 20 when you went in, right?
No, I was older. Oh yeah, that's right, I was real young. As a matter of fact, I had to, I couldn't enlist, I wanted to enlist, and I had to get my parents' signature. So they didn't want to give it to me, but I said, well, I'm going to be drafted. At least let me choose the outfit or the branch of service I wanted to go into. So they let me join the Air Force. But I had to wait around. They were so packed with, with recruits that I had to wait around about 6 months before they took me. I think I enlisted in November, and they took me in I think it was like March.
In a store, Pop had a picture of each one in the service and was crying.
Yeah.
He listened to the news, you know.
But wait a minute, that was only Nat and Melvin, right?
Nat, Mel, Harry was in the service.
Uh-huh.
But he wasn't overseas.
Yeah.
He was in Boston.
He was stationed in Boston. He had a heck of a good time. Nat had it roughest.
Yeah, Nat was, I think,
you know, I got to dig up those letters for you, Pam.
Oh, I'd love them.
I still have them. He wrote to me.
From Okinawa?
Well, from everywhere.
Nat fought the Pacific War single-handedly, right?
No, Nat, you know what else he did?
You know, after the Marines went in, then they'd send in the Army, like in Guadalcanal, to clean up the Japs. And so he was in the Nat. He was on the big guns, 155 millimeter.
See, he used to, when they would move somewhere, they would need this, they would need that, and they didn't have it.
He used to get the refrigerators.
So the Air Force and the Navy had everything. And he used to go over there and he used to get it from somehow. They always sent Nat over there.
Okay.
I said, Nat, how did you get it?
He was a procurement.
He was the gunner for the...
Yeah, he
probably stole it somewhere.
The captain would tell him, go and get us some beer from those damn Air Force guys. You know, Air Force and the Navy, they had big stocks of beer and so on. And so Nat, he went up. I remember he told me once, he went up to, and the Marine was guarding it, you know, marching around the building, and he told the Marine asked him, what do you want? He says, I just want to get a few things. We'd have nothing. So the guy says, look, I got to walk around the building. If you can get it out before I come back. Okay, it's yours. He had a Jeep and a friend with him, and they got a generator and a few cases of beer.
He used to have is this on? He used to have a scar right here, and he always used to tell me that he was shot during the war.
Where did he have a scar?
He had a scar right here.
He had some skin cancer.
And it was skin cancer, but I never knew it. He always told me that it was a
skin
war
cancer
wound.
And he had it removed.
Yeah. So his stories about the service are great.
Well, he made money, and away over in the ships he made money. I said, how'd you do it, Nat? He said, well, he says, you know, the officers and the soldiers, they'd issue them clothes, the pants were too long or they were too loose, and he says, I would alter for, charge them 75 cents or a dollar, and then he'd shoot the crap.
He'd sew 'em?
Yeah.
No, he would sew, yeah.
He knew how to do it. He watched Pop.
Yeah,
So
he knew how to sew. He knew how to do everything. He knew how to press, he knew how to sew. Anything those people did in that plant he had, that store, he knew how to do it, believe me.
And well, too. Yes, and he, so he says, I'm making more than they pay me. And he says, then I get into a crap game, I clean them out. I says, how do you know you're working to lose? He said, when I start losing, I says, I know when to quit.
I never heard the craft stories either.
That's where he played in Las Vegas. He says he played 21 and he knew when to stop.
Yeah.
Always when he was ahead a little bit.
Yeah.
So, Dad, essentially you remember Melvin up until about the age 16. And then...
then after the war.
And then after the war. So what kind of guy was Melvin when he was a teenager? I mean, was he kind of a raucous guy? Did he, you know, come home at 4 in the morning, climb in the window?
No.
Stuff like that?
No, I was a good boy.
He was a good boy. He was quiet.
I was just always looking for dogs.
can
All
say-
my
you
friends
can
were looking
say
for girls, and I used to be always looking for dogs.
You look for girls too, you know. You forget
For dogs?
Caldwell Street.
Caldwell Street.
Caldwell Street.
I think it's
They
really
had a house
interesting about the Singer
prostitution.
men
Oh, okay.
and their love for dogs.
What's that?
I think it's really interesting about the Singer men and their love for dogs.
Yeah, the girls not so much, but the girls not at all. But the,
I remember Kate. I remember that yellow dog that came
Yeah.
into the house? Cute little dog. Came into the house and we wanted to keep him. And we kept him for a few days. He'd run up and wake us up in the morning to go to school. He'd lick us in the face. We'd get up. But Kate hated it. One day we came home and the dog was gone.
You know that dog?
We didn't find out until much later that she had called up the animal rescue league to take the dog away.
She was bad. One time, the dog used to catch mice, rats, mice. And one day, it caught a rat or a mouse and put it on the kitchen chair. And Pauline came down to go to work, you know, to eat breakfast, and she sat on it. And I think that was the end of the dog.
What did she do?
Oh, I guess she screamed.
Dad, what about your story that you put peanuts away?
Oh.
And
One day on Baywood Street, remember the pantry they had?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I bought a bag of peanuts, and I put it in the pantry, in a cupboard, and I forgot all about it. It must have been 2-3 weeks. So it was a Friday night, and we'd just finished eating, and the girls were washing the dishes and cleaning the kitchen. So I went into the cupboard. I remembered about the peanuts. I went into the cupboard, and I got the bag, and I stuck my hand in there, and there was something soft in there, see? I pulled my hand out, and there was a little mouse, you know. It wasn't even as big as my hand. And I looked at it, I got petrified, you know, I was so surprised. And I went like this, you know, and the thing fell down, and it was running around, didn't know where to go. And the girls were screaming, and they were all on the kitchen, the kitchen table, the kitchen chair.
That reminds me of something that happened here at the one picnic. You know, I put out decon for the mice, and Ann came up earlier and slept over. She was walking in the kitchen, she sees this little something. She thought it was a ball of fur. She picks it up and it moves. And she screamed, boy, she dropped it so fast.
Just a poor little mouse.
poor little mouse.
Funny how the gals are afraid of it. Are you afraid of mice? And
Not
snakes?
necessarily.
Jackie, I was walking with Jackie once right down here by the grapes, and there was a little snake, garter snake, running around, and she got so scared she hopped on my back. I had to carry her up to the house.
Melvin.
Yeah.
What would you say would be my father's outstanding positive point?
Outstanding positive point?
Yeah.
Well, I would say that, well, he was very studious. I mean, he studied. I mean, there's no question about it. And he always did things for people. I mean, your father never said no. I don't think it was in his vocabulary.
You mean if someone asked him for a favor?
Any kind. I remember when I was...
You should know that, Rob.
Well, I remember when I was in this, stayed in the hospital, or when I was in, I had my bypass at the university hospital, and he called up the doc. He was in Israel, and he made a call to from Israel to the doctor to find out how everything was. You know. That what's the doctor's name, Mark? The cardiologist.
Still asks about you, yeah. I forget his name at the moment. It'll come back.
No, Steen. It was some kind of Steen.
Hallerstein?
Hallerstein, yeah.
He's the guy that wrote the book Run for Your Life.
He was like the pioneer of that about exercising.
He was. And then he had a heart attack. And everyone, at lunch, everyone was laughing at him. He says, "Here, you're to run for your life, and you have a heart attack."
You tell him it's
he says, "Well, it's genetic, you know."
That's probably right.
No, he doesn't say. He says, "Walk for your life, or swim, or ride a bicycle."
What would you say was my father's least desirable quality?
Least desirable quality. You know, it's pretty hard.
Sure, because he was a slob too, so what could you say?
Well, I never...
That's what I said.
I was a slipper.
I never picked up any clothes for him, so I wouldn't know.
Both of them. You know, they had, you know what they had? They had a...
You can't think of anything critical to say.
We throw it down.
Really?
Shoot, in their room. And we used to crawl under the bed to get
this guy's quite a guy, I'll tell you.
I spent too much time on Colwell Street, huh?
Yeah, I guess so.
Is Colwell Street still around?
No, they took it out.
I don't think there's even a street there anymore.
He must be coming to get a closer shot.
Your last breath. Here.
Come
on. Oh. There they are.
He lost his teeth. You mean to tell me you can't That's the piece in this film. There it is, right there. It's right there. How about a feet?
Sophie won.
Right here.
Oh, I like that picture. Where's what am I supposed to do? Where's it at? What am I supposed to do?
Where's your, say a word, say a speech.
No, but I need to.
For the 100th,
Yeah, you spit all over it so you get AIDS.
Where's Melvin?
AIDS.
Why, you're all getting remarried.
Harry, AIDS.
Where is Melvin? They returned.
And Ruth. And where's the package?
Where's the package?
Oh, she
I'm trying to find Melvin.
Well, he went over to the car.
She lost the package. Edie, give it to her.
It's coming. We I might as well make my
Okay, well, everybody assembled, because Edie likes to talk.
Says, read my lips.
Yeah. Well, anyway, this is a very happy occasion for us. We're all assembled here to celebrate Mark's 70th.
Who would have thought he'd live that long?
I said it's a rehearsal for the 90s.
Yeah, we're longevity.
Yeah,
Longevity.
Who would have thought he'd live that long? He escaped all those venereal diseases.
Anyway, this is a very happy birthday, Mark. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
And that's at least another 25. I won't give you much. How about 25 years?
Too much.
Too much, okay.
I give it to my sister. On a roll.
No, I'm not going to live there that long. Don't be.
Why not? I'll live that long if they'll let me.
Conneautville, we gotta have another surprise party for you.
85.
I bet you have the hood, the lid. Oh, I thought you had.
I think next year when she's 25, when she reaches her 85th birthday, she's not going to be surprised anymore because I'll kill her. I mean, how many times could you be surprised? Since 65 years old.
Yeah, to not catch up.
That's really
I think you ought to sing happy birthday to me.
And Rhoda. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rhoda. Happy birthday to you. I'll tell you what I would have lost with my teeth.
I claim to make a flea market.
The economics
How about happy birthday to me?
No, you had a birthday. Wait a minute, somebody else had a birthday. Who else? Who just had a birthday? Oh, Timmy's birthday's coming up.
Reuben had a birthday.
He already had it.
On the 20th.
Happy birthday to you.
How much can you write? I mean, there comes a point
To you. Happy birthday, dear Reuben. Happy birthday to you. Who else has a birthday? Tammy.
And a couple days.
So he went to Denison with you. Small college.
The mass is assembled.
Let's sing happy birthday to Tammy.
Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday,
Like a monkey.
happy birthday,
1, 2.
No, it's not really my birthday yet. No, we're gonna have another cake and everything.
More.
Don't worry.
Run away.
It doesn't more birthday.
I walk away.
He's worried that this neutralized the birthday.
Pretend birthday. You know what this is? This is an unbirthday. You know what an unbirthday is?
Shall we sing one?
Let me explain what an unbirthday is. It's a birthday other than the day that your birthday is.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's not candy.
Did you have a big birthday party, Peter?
Circling like an eagle.
Did you have a big birthday? And you will see the results next year.
What'd you get on your birthday?
Singing
Are
happy
you
birthday.
using the telescopic lens too?
Yeah. I gave you that car.
Instead of singing the song so many times in a row, we should just
Lollipop.
I want an ice cream bar.
Hey, Peter, did you see the?
He's going to buy a
Did
million
Peter
ice
see the
cream
lollipops
bars.
in the trees?
He had enough of them.
Aaron, did you see the lollipops in the trees?
Hundreds of them.
You really came from those lollipops.
I'm too tired to get up.
So
He's the only kid that's here that's, of lollipop in the tree age.
Hey, Jackie.
It's really sad.
I know, it is very
Lollipop.
Beth's baby will get next year. She'll be looking for lollipops.
Can I have a piece? Can
We
I
have
have
like,
You wrote to get
we have 100 lollipops per kid.
Whose is this? Yours or mine?
We need a night. We have
There's nothing in there.
Just get a
big knife. Get a big knife, sweetheart. This cute little Campbell
You
hole.
don't have enough.
Where did that come from?
You don't have enough dishes.
Oh, that's all salamander.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark.
Ray and Max gave that to us.
Yeah, that's cute. No, that's adorable. When I was in the hospital, your brother and I wanted to listen.
When I was in the hospital, somebody sent me a card. And it says, get well, just like the salamander grows a leg on the outside. You should capitalize on these people that are capitalizing on your research. How about that?
Everybody can use
Francis.
the apple cake. She said she was going to. Did they hide it when Mom used to hide it? Robbie hid it in the apple cake. Oh, almost. Instinct.
No, Robbie hid it.
I said almost instinct. Mom.
Take after your dad?
Don't you hear the story?
You got a little bit of your dad in you? Reuben?
I have little bit.
Judy and
Oh, you hunt them?
Yes.
Yeah. Look for them at the fair.
You know what she does when she's not on a leash? First of all, if she sees a cat, she jumps up. That's what I'm worried about. You know what she does when she's on a leash? She walks like this.
Sophie!
Yeah, that's right. Marlene always used to make one extra.
This, and she sniffs every blade of grass.
Okay, Ruth. Okay, turn it off.
Ruth. A banker to make more than the social work applicants and bachelors, and what they require at the entry level.
You know what? This is short on here. You can even call me.
Well, make them short. They come up to Aaron.
Isn't that nice?
Oh, we went out there. I saw her here, and then we went out there for
I want a little
you know, Judy and I.
He has a hat for it, but he forgot it.
What?
So napkins
Let's see your coat, Dad. Turn around.
My school is like, you have a list of
Turn around, Dad.
You just read,
Dad.
reading, more reading.
Yo, Dad.
Apple's ready to make. For her to do it.
Mark, that is so chic.
What's his name? The little one. He looks great.
Hey, can I go for me?
Yep, definitely.
I got a hat.
He has a hat for that.
And matches
Thanks,
that.
thanks.
I forgot it.
Thanks.
The hat.
You go when you say when you're reading. Oh, you do have matching hats. Where are you from? U.S. who? Military family. Does your
I
thing?
just graduated.
What does your thing say? Does this thing take me out to the ball game?
It says, you know what it says? It says,
Today, everything is disposable.
Yeah.
Some people accumulate.
That camera isn't on me, is it?
It is.
But I'm not even talking or doing anything interesting.
But, Tammy, that's the way you are.
A
If
bore.
you're not interesting,
bore.
you're not interesting. I mean, there's nothing you can do about it. This is an opportunity for people to see you as you really are.
He's not just climbing up the tree.
Another one? Another one?
Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter.
Peter, that's going to be on TV. You are going to be on TV. You know, you put that and you make it like a tape.
You're
and
on
you put it on
Camber
TV.
Camel.
Do you have a VCR, Peter?
Yes.
Do you watch tape?
Not me. I have no regrets.
You have no regret.
The ending moments of the Singer picnic.
No, I have my phone on his leash just in case. He's okay.
That's wonderful fact. Anyway, I saw.
Don't trip over the dog.
Circulated condition.
Is that very desirable?
Yeah, they're going up. I read their newsletter once a month. They have a report out in a story.
Faye reminds me of sort of like the crack dealer that suddenly gets caught on the evening news. Right?
With the crossed eyes. The crack dealer.
They'll be so happy to see me.
Is that what you're doing out there?
And bring me back.
On the side page, make you some money. She just had a special on TV.
She knows when I'm in a hurry.
No, people just leave them.
Yeah, they're really freaky.
Everybody does that.
I could tell there's a little gossip going on here. I thought I would just sort of sneak in and overhear it.
She asked me. Yeah, she changed her mind so many times. In fact, she dumped me. See, she doesn't know, but I'm not going to forget it. I did not dump you. You were going with Melvin right away.
We get what for where?
To the picnic. Everybody calls
But you're
me
here.
where we're going, and I have to change my plans a half a dozen times. A couple of
Nobody's drinking this time.
This is important.
What?
A couple days ago, 3-4 days ago, I said, Ann, how are we going? She says, not to worry, not to worry. First thing I know, last night, 2 days ago, she was going to come here on Friday with Rhoda. The next day, I learned she changed her mind. She was too tired. The next time I knew, well, she was going with Edie. The next time I knew, she was taking her car, and she was going with Rachel, and she was taking I don't mind, with the L bump, but I got a better ride. I went with Melvin. Don't listen to her. She knew all along she was going with Melvin, because Melvin has a real comfortable car. No, well, that's true, but Melvin lives in Green Tree, and I live in Shady Side. Do you know Pittsburgh?
Sure.
Okay. So I just didn't have the heart to make him come to Shady Side when he can get on the turnpike right from his home. He can reach 79, that's even better. Right from his home. He can get 79 from your place.
Aunt Ann is the only member of the Singer family that doesn't have any children represented here. What do you have to say?
I'm not, well, Fred I forgive because he had to go to the jewelry show. But Arnold, I'm not going to talk to him.
Famous last word.
Well,
Yeah,
You tell him he's on the Singer family shit list. Every Singer picnic, we're going to have a Singer family shit list, top of the shit list award. And the award for the 14th annual Singer picnic goes to Arnold Miller.
I thought for sure he'd come up. Feeling well.
Beautiful teeth, but they are dirty.
And then their mouth, they get so stinky when they get old.
Yeah. They get doggy breath.
And Sophie has dumpster breath. The worst breath.
Cousin Sophie. I was in the lake today. I was in the pond.
Yeah.
Catching little frogs. Today, here? Yes, she was. She was walking. Sophie, she was walking around the edges.
Uh-huh. Yeah, she just jumped in. She was chasing sticks.
Rob, I think it's Rob's turn to be the picture. Rob, I think it's time that you be interviewed because you have things to say that we want.
Do you have things to say?
No, I don't have anything to say.
Why don't you sit down
Well,
and
you
tell
just
us
said
about
it.
your father?
Well, I was going to do that with, we have a hot dog. This represents the last food left at the Singer picnic. And in order to make sure that everybody has had their fill, I'm going to go around and offer this hot dog to everybody at the Singer picnic, okay? So you follow me around and you can register your faces, okay? Tammy.
No.
Hey.
No.
Rhoda. Harry, would you like a hot dog? No.
Making sure everyone's satisfied.
Ed.
He'll always eat one in some.
Okay.
He took the hot dog.
We got one taker.
That's not in the script.
We got one taker.
Well, that's good. At least that's good because.
Okay, we got to go back and get another hot dog. Now pause it. Okay. Hey, Gary, how about a hot dog?
Oh, no, I had 2 already. That's it. I'm full. I'm a 2 hot dog person.
Sandy, come on, hot dog.
No way.
Barb,
Give 'em
Barb.
away.
Come on, Barb, come on.
No hot dog. This child ate nothing today.
Melvin will have a hot
Mommy,
dog.
this child ate nothing.
Come on, Mel.
Yeah, he wants one, but he's afraid that Leona's gonna find out.
She'll send me heating.
You'll find the dog. So
Harold.
Crunchy now, it's delicious.
Leona's not here.
Hot dog.
Frank, this
French
dog.
fries are really good.
See that dog that looks like that dog?
Here's someone that could use a hot dog.
No.
Buck. Hot dog.
No, thank you. Lindsay will take it.
Lindsay.
Lindsay. No
Bab, open your own.
No. I already had 3.
Look, she's
Already
burying
had
her
3.
head in my chest. She doesn't want that hot dog. So
Kelly would like a hot dog just to
No.
finish up today. No?
No.
Oh yeah, give her a hot
More,
dog.
come
Give her
on.
maybe a
Here,
couple.
open them
I've
up.
already had a couple. I had
Hey,
2.
man.
I had 2.
Everybody had 2. There's one
You have
down on
three.
thirds.
And if you have 4, then you're really doing your thing.
Pammy will have a hot dog. I know Pam. If I know Pam, she'll have a hot dog.
I have to say something. I love these hot dogs. Don't tell anybody. I had 2.
She had 3.
2.
3. I counted.
2. This is after. This is not nutritious food.
Have a 4th.
I'll have a little bite.
She'll have a bite.
All right.
Wait a minute. What's that?
That's a little piece of grass.
Back and forth, nothing.
About half of that.
Just it takes a lot of
Throw away the tips.
Here we go. Like it was.
How's it taste?
Linda.
Linda, come on, Linda. No, come on, have a hot dog. One more.
Take a bite. It's a community dog. It's a community. You're on film, Linda. This one's.
Ta-da. I hear a weird sound.
Okay, pause it. I think we've gotten as much as
a hot dog.
For a hot dog? No, thanks. No, thanks. Okay, well, maybe Edie. Hey, Edie. A hot dog, come on.
I'll get out of here.
Come on, a hot dog.
I can't eat that.
Herbie.
Herbie gets very sick.
Okay.
The picnic's officially over when everyone refuses that hot dog.
Okay, well, let's just get rid of 1.37 hot dogs with going through the entire population of the Singer picnic. So I think that Benji, a hot dog.
No, thank you.
How about
No, I can't. Enough hot dog.
Hey,
can't even sell?
You've had that same hot dog. It looks like somebody took a bite out of it.
Well, you know, various people take little bites out of it.
That's disgusting.
Hey, how about our film crew? Ben Singer. Hey, Ben, a hot dog. Fisherman of the Year. Hold the fish up, Peter, so we can see it. No. Let me zoom in on it. Yep, it's a fish, all right. Who caught it?
Me.
Aaron, your hand's in his face. Who caught the fish?
Me.
How did you catch him?
With a fishing pole.
With a fishing pole and a hook? Did you put any bait on the hook?
Yeah.
What, a worm or something?
No bait.
Just bait?
No bait. Thick bait. No bait. Yeah, bait. You didn't use bait.
What do
He
you-
didn't use bait.
What are you going to do with the fish now?
Throw it in the water.
Okay, let's see you do it.
No bait. It's bait.
In the water in the air or in the pond?
No, in the pond. The pond. Too cold in there.
Too cold for that fish. Throw it back.
Throw in the pond.
Not even worry.
Okay.
Watch him, Benji.
Where are you going? Okay.
Yeah.
Hurry up, Peter.
Finish into the day. We say goodbye to all the Singer Michigas.
It's supposed to be, it's not supposed to be straight ones.
No predators.
Oh, yeah, a little bit corny. What's it on the time? There was a big, you're going to say you're really.
What do you say?
But I don't know what happened.
About ready to leave the farm. We want to just say a few words to Papa on his 75th birthday, to wish him a happy birthday on this tape, which we're going to keep for posterity. So, happy birthday, Dad.
Thank you very much, man.
Happy 75th year.
Thank you very much. 74th.
75th year. And,
Beginning of the 75th.
And many happy more years.
Many more picnics.
And many happy more picnics.
Yeah.
Now, how does it feel to be 75?
I don't like the idea.
How come?
Well, because there's a diminishing returns.
Diminishing returns in what sense?
Well, you feel you can't move as fast as you did before, or you'd like to.
Uh-huh.
And you're not as alert as you used to be.
Moving a little closer
And
here.
you can't chase the women as actively.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
John, what do you have to say?
Well, it's nice that he reaches about 3/4 of a century. He just has a 25 more years to go before he gets 100. That's all, just 25. I think he can hold out that long, can't you, Dad?
Well, I'd like to hold out till I'm 86 to the year 2000.
Uh-huh.
And boy, that would be wonderful to see the turn of the century.
Yeah.
Of the millennium.
What will you do then?
I don't know. Maybe I'll get younger in the meantime.
If you get that far, then you start getting younger?
Yeah.
I'm sure you start acting younger, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, do you have any questions?
Yeah, when you two were younger,
John and I?
yeah, what do you remember about your dad?
Well, let's see.
I never beat you, Rob.
Well, only once or twice.
No, I never beat. Did I ever hit you, John, that you can remember?
Oh, very rarely, hardly ever. No, nothing much to worry about.
Maybe once a year. Maybe once a month.
They were great kids.
Once a week.
And Johnny was very entertaining.
How's that?
Well, let me ask you to answer the first question. You said, what do we remember?
Okay, yeah, what do you remember?
I remember
some of the first things you remember.
Dad, I remember, was a really hard-working guy. He was always working at the lab, and but we always had a good time. I remember picnics. We used to like to do picnics at Teganic.
Yeah, Johnny had to have a picnic every Sunday.
Yeah.
And I used to ask him in winter, Johnny, you want to have a picnic? He'd say, yes, let's go to Teganic.
Or we'd go to Enfield. I remember picnics in Enfield.
Yeah.
I remember swimming in Enfield until October, November, right?
It was November, yeah.
The latest we ever swam.
Not you, I did.
Yeah, I remember getting in there too.
I remember swimming there and there was a dead rat in front of me.
Yeah.
And
You have
get
to come
out
in closer.
and I hope to swim all winter. You know, like the bears.
Okay, John, that's fine.
Okay,
You
John.
have to watch out in that viewfinder because it looks like it's
I
centered,
remember when
but
I
it's
was a kid, I
actually
wanted to
to
go
the
swimming
right.
It is?
in Ithaca.
You have to pan back and forth a little bit.
I see.
And then, but the thing is, I remember in the middle of February, it was something like 12 degrees out. This is what Dad says. And I wanted to go swimming with the inner tube in Teganic.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of February.
Really?
Yeah. So I figured, you know, that wasn't really the thing to do. But I didn't know it at that time, I suppose.
Do you remember anything about Papa's lab?
Yeah, I remember, and I used to remember. I remember.
Mati in the belly.
Yeah, that's right, Mati in the belly, and it took.
Yeah, I had the.
Mati in the belly.
In the lab, I had a whole series of models of dissections, and a dissection of the belly, and he wanted to say smashed in the belly, but he couldn't say it. He said Mati in the belly.
Yeah, he was scared of those things.
Yeah, and I was scared to enter his lab. It took Dad the longest time.
And I had skeletons around, and nice white bones, and one summer, the first time he saw a black kid at Enfield,
yeah,
and he said, does that kid have chocolate bones? Yeah, Johnny was always pulling something like that.
Yeah.
Like,
Chocolate bones.
Do you ever remember Papa being mad?
I remember
Oh,
Papa
yeah.
being mad, actually, sometimes.
I remember one time I apologized to Robbie. That was during the McCarthy time. I was very nervous and he did something and I dragged him downstairs and I was sorry about it and apologized to him. You don't remember that, do you, Rob?
Yeah, I remember that. I remember,
Remember getting hung up on a rock with the...
with the Citroen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember hung up with the rock with the Citroen.
Out at the edge of a gorge.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly like that, but it wasn't that dramatic, but it was,
He had gone to his first party and had his first drink, and then he drove back. He got hung up on a rock.
yeah.
And I had to go up there, and all he had to do is press the lever and raise the car up a little more to get off.
And I remember during the McCarthy era,
Yeah.
I remember that all those tense times, and going to Washington to meet with your friend, what was his name, Pollitt or someone?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
attorney.
Dan Pollitt. And I remember I was downtown in downtown Ithaca when McCarthy died, and I heard it on the news, and I heard that McCarthy had died, and I ran down the street. My mother was there, and I yelled to my mother, "Did you hear the good news? McCarthy died, McCarthy died," and everyone turned around.
When was this, in 60 or something?
No, it was in the 50s sometime.
When he died?
58, 58 or something like
Oh,
that.
when he died, oh, I see, okay.
John, your turn to remember something.
Well, I have a lot of good memories from Ithaca, I guess, because it was my childhood, and I used to like to roam around the campus during the weekends and walk up the Cornell Library Tower and look and gaze over the lake and in the city of Ithaca, you know, and the campus as well.
Would you say our time in Ithaca was our happiest time? Would you say it was the happiest time of your life?
I was very happy, you know, it was very hard to leave there. But it was also hard to leave from Boston. Yeah, we had good times. We had good times there. And I remember Sundays, your mother would knock off and say, "I'm not going to cook today. You take care of the kids." I used to throw you guys into the car, and we would drive around the lake, remember?
Yeah.
Take the back roads to explore the place.
Yeah, that's right.
I remember some long bicycle hikes.
Yeah.
You remember the bicycle I had, the paratrooper's bike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Folding bike.
I remember it folded up while I was riding it once.
And then I had the tandem.
Oh yeah, I remember the tandem. You got this tandem, it was like made in 1898, and you were so excited about it, and we got it all fixed up, and we rode down the hill and didn't have any brakes, we discovered as we're going down the hill.
Oh,
and I was in the front when we went crashing through the woods, and the bike was so heavy it took out about all these saplings before we finally came to a stop.
Oh yeah, such a
I was
heavy-
down like the Thurston Avenue Hill or something.
Really? And it didn't have any brakes? Oh dear.
We should have checked that out before we started on it. That was stupid.
Yeah. I remember I rode on that tandem, I think it was on the back seat.
The
Going.
back seat was a driver's seat.
Oh, that was the driver's seat? I think.
I remember I used to take my feet off the pedals and just let Dad do all the pumping.
Remember when we got to Ford, the Model A?
Yeah, I remember that. I was
And
16.
he decided to see how fast it could go, and he burned out the bearing.
I drove it to school. You let me drive it to school every so often, so I drove it to high school, and then we went to have a party after school at Enfield, and I had all these girls in the car with me, and I drove it to see how fast it could go, and that's when I burned the bearing on the motor. I did get it up to 50 or something like that.
60, I think.
60 maybe.
Yeah.
Going downhill.
And you're not supposed to go over 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, you were mad.
And it costs a lot of money too. I should bill you for it now.
Back then it was probably $100.
It was very hard to get it fixed. But there was one guy in town who knew you had to send the motor and you couldn't put in new bearings. Yeah, screw them in, but you had to have them babbited in.
Right, yeah.
Did Papa give you guys any advice about life when you were wondering about what you were going to do when you were growing up and stuff?
Yeah, he always used to say life, you know what I mean? That was his favorite thing, life, you know what I mean? Yeah, when we were growing up, he sort of, I think he kind of directed me into biology.
I did not.
I think he kind of did.
No,
I think it was kind of subtle.
I thought he'd go into English or math, because he was good at that. But then he went to Oberlin and he had to take a distribution courses, and he liked biology because it was the easiest thing.
Yeah, it was the easiest thing for me to do. But remember, I think it was like freshman year, freshman biology, second semester, I got like a C+ in biology for my final grade. You got really upset. And you acted so sad, and you said, well, I guess maybe you're not cut out for biology after all. But I remember all those times you had me working in the lab all summer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not like I went out and found my own job.
Yeah. I worked in his lab too. But I grew to like the electron microscopy a great deal. And I believe I'd like to still keep that as my life's work.
It's probably no coincidence that both your sons went into biology, Dad. You think it's a coincidence?
Well, in a way, yeah. It was nice. They're two great guys.
Did they behave, or were they like Reuven?
We used to fight a lot. We used to fight. I once shot John with a BB gun and he threw a rock at me. I remember that.
Really?
Yeah.
When was this? I don't remember.
Oh, on Wyckoff Road.
And Dad took the BB gun away from me, and I got my first BB gun when I was 12 years old. And I had to sign a statement that I would never shoot at anything that was alive. So then I shot at my brother, sort of violated the agreement.
Yeah, he and his friend used to, go in the back ravine there and shoot at the birds on the ledges.
Oh, well, I don't think. We shot at tin cans.
He did that too. And then this wise guy here on my right, he managed to get a lot of firecrackers. And then he, on the 4th of July, was shooting them off in front of the house with his friend Kit Hathaway.
Charles and Delicato.
Charles and Delicato. And he had a big firecracker, and he decided to see how long he could hold it before he threw it away. And it blew up in his hand, and I had to take him to the hospital because he had burnt his thumb very badly.
That's when I was in the 6th grade. I really hurt my hand, really.
Yeah, and I took him to the hospital, and they fixed it up. They got his name and address, and by the time we got back, the police were waiting for us.
Yeah, the police came to the door. I opened the door, and there were these big policemen there, and I got, oh no, I was so scared.
So where did you get the firecracker? Well, you told me you got them in Pittsburgh, huh?
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't want to incriminate the person that sold it to us. It was a guy up at the garage at the Corners. Yeah, that was a pretty bad.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that too. Wasn't that on Wyckoff Road, Rob?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And neither guy would go to Sunday school. I wanted them to go to Sunday school.
Hebrew school, right?
Yeah, but your mother wasn't anxious. Said,
Well,
heck, and you guys are saying, oh, we have enough school during the week. And
yeah.
So we never were bar mitzvahed, right?
Never were bar mitzvah.
We're kind of like illegitimate Jews, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Robbie and I tended to bar ourselves from the bar mitzvah. That's the thing.
Pun on tape.
Yeah.
And John's the punster.
Yeah. So we didn't
He
get
still
that.
hasn't cured himself of the puns. And some are good, I have to rate it, give him a grade for some. Some flunk, and some when he's lucky, he gets a C on it.
When he's lucky. He's never come up with an A pun yet.
Huh? I think he has.
How about another question?
Did Papa prepare you for the world in terms of women?
Grandman, oh boy, he can ask a loaded question.
Yeah, well, I'll answer some of that.
I remember
Robbie
one
was-
of the first things I remember about Papa and women was like we'd be driving in a car and the window would be down, you know, and Papa would stop at a stoplight straight in the corner, and there'd be this girl going across like our age, and Papa would say, "Hey, there's a cute little girl. Do you want me to introduce you to her?" He'd say, and then we'd sink down under the seats because we thought he just might do it. He's just the kind
Those
of guy.
guys are always embarrassed by my antics. I remember taking John down to the library, which had a long corridor alongside of it, to get a book, and coming out there's this cute little kid there, girl, and I said hello to her and patted her in the head, and John said, he got very angry, he said, "You don't even know her." And then with Robbie, his class, he was in a choral group, and they were going to have a demonstration out on the lawn, singing, and the parents were coming. So I came and I said, "Robbie, when I get up there, I'm going to wave to you and say, 'That's the boy, Rob.'" And I got up there, he was in about the 5th row back. When he saw me, he ducked down.
That was like in the 4th grade or something like that. Yeah, I remember that.
He says, "No, Dad, you don't say anything, you keep quiet."
Like he used to drive and he'd, I remember an embarrassing thing he used to do is he used to sing real loud while we're driving in the car, and if there were people nearby, we used to be real embarrassed. He'd say, "Stop singing." And the other thing he used to do is call the gas station attendant Chief.
Yeah, that's right.
He'd say, "Fill her up, Chief," and we'd say, "Oh no, call him Chief."
But we had a good time. A real nice day. And with our dog Sookie, was named Sookie by Grandma.
Yeah, that's right.
And Robbie loved that little dog.
I remember when Grandma came to live with us. Remember that? She
Yeah.
always used to Crocky. He used to call it Crocky.
Yeah.
She had a postnasal drip.
Yeah, she used to get it, clear her throat in the bathroom every morning. Dad used to call, there's Bessie again with her Crocky.
They give a little Crocky, does he? Give a little Crocky. But she was nice. Very gentle woman. And very lovable.
Yeah.
And we had a great house there. In fact, we lived in 4 different places.
5.
5?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all rentals, sabbatical rentals. The one I liked best was the Iroquois Road one. And that's where Robbie set up a stand to sell lemonade in front. And what happened was the Katzman kid across the street decided to compete with you, remember?
Yeah.
And you were mad as hell, you were going to beat him up.
Was this in Ithaca?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was on the Iroquois Road.
Oh.
I remember that, getting back to the women's question, I remember the first girlfriends I brought home. Remember Judy Bonney?
Yeah.
Oh.
And she always used to embarrass me because she used to say, you know, things like,
Cutie?
Cutie to her, yeah. I used to call
Give her
her
a little
Cutie and
squeeze,
Sweetie.
yeah.
And,
She was pretty.
and I got mad at you and I said you were just an old wolf who lost his teeth. Remember that?
Yeah, but I still had them then.
Yeah, but now you've lost them. What else, Ben? Ask us another question.
Well, let's see. Was Papa a serious person, or was he not?
He could act real silly sometimes. He could act really funny sometimes. He was best. He was tremendous at doing imitations of people. Somebody would come to the house and they'd, be there for dinner, and then the next time we had dinner, Papa would be making these strange faces, and we'd realize that he was imitating the expressions of the person that was that had just been there the night before.
Is that true, Papa?
Well, he was embarrassing. I had Harry Kaplan there, a professor, and we had dinner, and then we were sitting in the living room talking, and Harry Kaplan said to me, "Say, Professor, something or other," and Robbie looked at me, he says, "You a professor?"
I was really astonished.
Yeah.
Because he always acted so silly at home. I couldn't imagine you being a professor.
Yeah. And this guy had to have a Hanukkah bush on Christmas.
Well, it was only a couple of years we had a Hanukkah bush.
Well,
until you put a stop to it.
Well, he started it off in Cambridge. He was crying. All his friends had Hanukkah bushes, but he didn't have one. And so your mother made you go down and buy you a little Hanukkah bush. And it grew, and you trimmed it yourself. And it grew larger and larger each year. Remember we would go down to Mass Avenue and buy a gingerbread man?
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
25 cents.
Gingerbread, right.
Yeah, so Johnny called it gingerbread.
I remember I came home from school once in Cambridge and Ma had bought the record, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, because it was a popular song that year. It just come out. It was like 1949 or something like that, and she was playing it on my little photograph. I got so excited.
Yeah.
What do you remember from your childhood, John? What's a childhood memory?
Well, I think the earliest I remember is when we lived on Comstock Road, and Dad said that I said that
I want you to take a tape.
That we got luck in a meringue.
Yeah, we got the car stuck in the mud.
And I didn't know how to say
John
stuck
had
in the
his own language.
And instead of saying, I didn't know how to say stuck in the mud, so I said luck in the meringue, which is sort of close anyhow.
John had his own language.
Yeah, and we had a cat, black cat.
Tsatsa. We used to hate that cat.
Well, because I'd sit down in my favorite chair, and that was the cat's favorite chair. And she'd sit in front of me and look at me and look at me, stare at me until I couldn't stand it any longer, and I'd get up and she'd hop on the chair and sleep because she slept outside all the time.
I remember that on one incident that you were making chopped liver for lunch and you went and put your plate on the table and you turned around and the cat was on the table eating your chopped liver and you just got so mad and you had this New York Times and you just grabbed it and you went after that cat and just as the newspaper hit the cat's tush, the cat took off like a rocket, I remember, across the table and out the door.
Well, and on the Iroquois Road, you were sitting in the middle. We had a great big living room.
Sure.
You were sitting in the middle of the living room, and that cat started to come towards him, threatening, and was going to scratch him. Well, and I grabbed a piece of paper, rolled it up, and whacked the cat, and it flew out into the yard.
I remember you used to play your recorder all the time.
Yeah.
Dad was really into playing the recorder all the time. He was sort of tooting away this little toot.
Yeah, and your mother couldn't stand it.
Yeah, and the cat couldn't stand it. And as soon as you got out your recorder, the first sound, the cat headed right through the door and asked to be let out. Because the cat would lie there for a while it was asleep while you were practicing the recorder, and then would put its paws over its ears like, oh no, this is awful, and would try to just ignore them, and then finally got up and just got out of the house and left.
Remember the cat used to come in through the basement window on the 101 in the Parkway?
Yeah, that's right. We had bedrooms down in the basement. I remember that. I remember that I took up the recorder too, right?
A little bit, yeah.
And we used to play some duets. I played soprano and you played alto, I remember.
Yeah.
We played Twickenham Ferry. I remember the name of the song was called Twickenham Ferry.
Yeah.
John, what did you played the piano, right?
Yeah. Dad and for my birthday in 1956 bought me a piano.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
And typical of John is he's very good at dates. What was the date when we left for Europe, John?
February 2nd, 1959. We went on a stormy sea.
It was 58.
No, it was 59.
59.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
We all had bikes there, and
No, that was a great time we had in Amsterdam.
except you guys didn't want to go to school, but I put you into those Montessori schools.
John called it a Montessori school, remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Montessori.
Yeah, there was a lot of stores.
Yeah. But you had a good time there, and you liked, and you went on a Werkdijk, you remember? For
Yeah,
a
I
week.
remember that for a week in a camp.
Where that Werkdijk, where was that located?
It was in Arnhem or someplace like that.
In Holland? Was it still in
Yeah.
Holland?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
How many minutes do you have on that now?
37.
So we talked for about 25 minutes, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's, maybe do we have any closing remarks here?
Well, I remember, like, I've been helping Dad a lot on his lawn a lot, and he let me cut the lawn for the first time when I was about 12 years old, maybe 11 years old. And that was on 205 Willard Way. I remember there were times when I asked him, Dad, can I cut the lawn? And he said, no, you're too young. It's too dangerous. But then he gave in one time. And I remember I cut the lawn for the very first time in my life on 205 Willard Way. And since then I've been cutting his lawn. And trimming his bushes. Pulling weeds.
Yeah, they were good guys. And then after Sookie got executed in Cleveland, I got Ziggle.
Yeah.
Your old Ziggle was buried right outside here.
In the farm.
Right out here, and this, over there, just up there.
And you say you hear the ghost of Ziggle sometime.
Yeah, he comes in, he was very polite. He'd look around the door to see how I was. He'd say, Daddy, how are you?
Remember when we first got Ziggle, he would, when I was a senior in high school, he used to sneak upstairs and sleep on my bed.
Well, that was Sookie that we had brought.
Oh yeah, that was Sookie, yeah. And
Sookie would sneak up and sleep in his bed, and pretty soon Robbie had no room, and Robbie would turn over and Sookie would growl.
So you used to try and catch her by running down the hall and catching her on my bed and smacking her.
Yeah.
Remember, it was something you had some instrument.
But she heard me always.
But she would always hear him coming down the hallway in Berkshire, and she'd run down back to her bed. So she'd be in her bed looking like sleepy, like, what? You just woke me up. And then he'd run back down the hall and get into bed. And she'd climb back up to my bed.
But I finally got her.
But he sort of devised this technique of sneaking real slowly down. It became man against dog.
What I
right?
did, it was
the wits of man.
the grandfather clock goes off.
Oh, that's
12.
right. Yeah, he waited for some sort
I
of
had a
screaming.
paper all rolled up, and
he waited for a screaming noise.
I put those
Just
down
go
the hall.
bong, 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 and every time it bonged, he took another step down the hallway. So he got Sookie on my bed. Oh my God! She looks up.
Boy, did she light up. She went down and almost...
Yikes! 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 Yikes!
This was Sookie you're talking about?
Yeah.
You mean in our Cleveland house?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
When we moved, we took Sookie along. But Sookie was executed by a crazy cop. Because Sookie had eaten something, I think chicken bone, and it pierced her stomach. And she was screaming, and I let her, and she was crapping all over the place. So I opened the door and let her out. And she got down in somebody's yard and was running back and forth on a fence screaming, and they called the police, and the police, according to law, WHO, international organization, they were supposed to catch her if it's a mad dog and hold her to see if she developed the rabies.
Yeah.
But instead they just shot her. And I remember I called, and I went there, and there was Sookie, was dead. Yeah. They had sent her brain somewhere to get it tested for rabies, but it didn't have rabies.
Sookie was one of those dogs that you saved from your Beagle Brain book, right?
Yeah.
You got it at the Cornell Vet
No,
School.
how we got her was we went to Animal Rescue League that was giving away dogs. And your mother fell in love with Sookie right away and had her altered. We brought her home. She was so frightened in the car. But she and Robbie became great pals. Remember the snow? Robbie used to build tunnels in the snow for her to run through. And she would run through these. Remember that, Rob?
Yeah. I remember when the snow got high, it was higher than her head. She had to jump up in the air to see where she was going, so she'd run a few steps and then she'd jump up in the air. So if you're looking at this field of snow, you'd see this dog's head go up and these ears flapping, and then she disappeared down, and then flat, up she'd come and disappeared. It's really funny.
Boy, but could she give you a slurp? It's delicious. Start here all the way up.
Yeah. So, anyhow, we should end this thing, because I want to get a few minutes of tape with Ben and Papa. So, well, happy birthday, Dad. Looking forward to many more.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming and for everything that you did.
Dad helped me a lot on my math when I was in school, and I ended up in college even taking calculus. So it was an inspiration there. He helped me with my math, and I kind of got more inspired.
He was a great father. He was a great role model for all of us.
Yeah.
That's nice to hear, because I never thought I was so great.
Well, we both got in the habit of wanting to pinch took us as that was a really good role.
Okay, here we are with grandson Ben and Papa. Grandson Ben has known Papa for his whole 22 years, or maybe he has some observations about Papa he'd like to recount on Papa's 75th birthday.
Well, one of the things I remember about Papa is I always used to look forward to going to the Berkshire House and riding in the red Citroen to the zoo, to the Cleveland Zoo. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
And we'd go in the red Citroen, and it was like a magical car almost, because I'd never been in a Citroen. Actually, we had one, but I didn't remember having it. And Papa was always singing or something, or making some...
Mark, about the dusty trail on the Lonesome Road?
Yeah, going down the dusty trail. And, or going down the Lonesome Road. You remember that, right?
Yeah.
I remember you going to the farm once in the old car, right?
In the Ford.
In the Ford, yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the first memories you have of Papa?
Yeah, pretty much. It gets mixed up with the pictures that you see in the albums. I mean, I remember lying on the rug of Berkshire, the old rug, and people looking at me, sort of. But I think that might be the first thing I remember. And I remember Ziggle.
Yeah, Ziggle, he was about 18 months old and was walking, and he decided to walk backwards. And Ziggle was jealous and got behind him, so he tripped and fell.
Ziggle used to try and knock Benji down when he was toddling. It was kind of a sport.
And when we first got the farm, when we first came out here, remember Papa would always, he would mow the lawn with his Israeli hat on. Remember that little hat?
Yeah.
And we'd ride in the wagon behind him. And
sing the Little Red Wagon, Wheels of Blue.
And what else?
Do you think that your going to Cornell was had something to do with Papa having been at Cornell?
Probably, since we'd visit Ithaca once in a while. So in that way I was exposed to Ithaca, whereas I probably wouldn't have been if you hadn't lived there. And while I was there, I got to like the place a lot, and so probably, yeah.
And Papa's name is still mentioned at Cornell, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. In fact, they were doing a series
on notorious professors.
Notorious professors at Cornell when I was a freshman, and they did a story on Papa. They only did like 3 or 4 professors, and Papa was one of them. And I used to look at the paper every day, but I didn't look at the paper that day because we didn't get it. And when I was down at Crew, someone was saying, "Was that your grandfather that they were talking about in the newspaper?" And I said, "Really?" And I don't know. So then I got hold of one of the papers, and they had a story on Papa during the McCarthy stuff. And so they interviewed you for that?
Yeah, they called me this gal. They were very sympathetic in the article.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a good article. It was sort of something that Cornell probably owed him as a favorable write-up after all that stuff. They probably did something before that, didn't they?
Well, during the period, they did a lot. The faculty was behind me, especially the math, physics, and the English department.
Yeah. So, Papa, do you remember when I was a little kid?
Oh, yeah. Boy, you were a cutie. And I remember taking you over to Eileen Miller's place, where she had these 6 kids of her own, and they were playing music, dancing around, and you started to dance. You were 18 months old, I think. It was funny as anything. Yeah, and then I visited you in Waltham. You had this Stephanie was your friend. You couldn't say Stephanie, you called her Feffy.
Yeah.
Whatever became of Stephanie and Benjamin?
She's married.
She got married. Yeah, I remember when Papa used to visit us. He used to only visit for like a day or 2. It always seemed like maybe it was just because I was a little kid, it seemed like he was only there for a couple days, but he'd show up one day at the door with donuts. I always remember that. His Papa always had donuts. So he'd show up one day and he'd have a box of donuts, and I'd go, I was so happy. I didn't know which I was more happy about, Papa or the donuts. But he'd come in and surprise us, and we'd eat some donuts, and before you knew it, he'd be gone. But I was always glad when Papa came to visit.
Yeah, and you had a nice little tricycle. Used to ride around in the back of the house.
Yeah.
I remember when you fell off once, or was crying.
Let's have a couple minutes with Reuben, and then we'll call it quits, because I think we're about ready to go. Just press the pause. Oh. Or press the fade. Okay, press the fade.
Oh.
And now pause it while it's faded out. This grandchild, Reuben. Well, Reuben, what are the first things you remember about Papa?
Well, it's hard to remember sometimes. Most of it is pretty hard to remember. The first thing I probably remember is basically the same thing with Ben, is showing up with donuts. Donuts he'd already have. And if he didn't come with donuts the next morning, he'd hurry away before anybody woke up, and there'd be a few boxes of donuts on the kitchen table.
But you forgot it's called donuts.
Yeah. I used to call them donuts instead of donuts, and I couldn't understand why.
And you wanted me to take you to B. Donald's.
Yeah.
I think that was Adam that said B. Donald's.
Yeah.
And we carried it on.
Now, Reuben, when Papa was pretty old when you remember Papa. You remember him as being pretty old?
Yeah.
What would you like to say to him on his 75th birthday?
Like to say happy birthday and
Get older.
get older and hang in there. And
That you like me?
yeah, I like you a lot.
Okay, great.